why don't you pull this back up? Pull this back up, Samir.
Yeah,
I had to
this.
stop. I had to stop the stream and start it over again. It messed up, so we're brand new
Oh,
again.
perfect.
Shout out to everybody on YouTube for watching us. 143 people here live in the studio, and we're gonna explain this from ground zero because
Boom.
Brandon has never done this before. Every week.
I just want to make
for the
sure
last 2
we're
years.
on the same page.
No, that's cool. It's
What
cool.
do
It's
you,
cool. Samir,
what
can
do
you?
pull up the scoring sheet? Like
Yeah,
the
pull up
whole
the
Excel?
scoring sheet. I'll walk through it real quickly.
This feels like the other team had 3 timeouts to ice the kicker to win by a point right now. No, but thanks for clarifying, Brandon. Appreciate you.
No problem. Got you.
Dang,
All right.
you weren't lying when you said Mott's got hit.
Yep. You guys, same energy too. I do this all day long. I got this. I don't. You stay ready. You don't have to get ready. Okay.
Big bark, no bite.
No, but and shout out to Mott's. Mott's is dope people, right?
No,
but
Mott's is the man. I like
closers
Mott's.
closers give each other crap. That's what we do.
All day.
So that being said, guys, here's what it is. So strength of intro, rapport building, fact finding and uncovering motivation, overcoming objections, presentation of solutions, and then the bonus is strength of close and follow up. You get 5 points in each category. Each person is going to be grading. Total score of 30 per person. Total score of 90 max in total, right? As you can see on the left of the people who have gone up to this point, Jeff is leading the ranks with 76.25. Robin's in close second, and then it's going down from there. Samir got hit over the head, sadly, and he's in a somewhat distant fourth place. But he's another example of people who didn't think they had to practice. That being said, so how does this work? All right. So the way I'm scoring this, Brandon, is like this. First and foremost, every seller has a different personality. Every judge has a different personality. I don't expect everybody to think like me, right? So the first criteria is if we're judges, you got to actually listen to what's happening in the call. Pay attention. Take your notes, do what you have to do to make sure you're doing that. Probably, are you doing that right now, Brandon? I know you're getting a TV delivered. Are you? Okay, cool. All right. Strength of intro. For example, somebody used an intro the other day that I loathe. I think it's a stupid intro. I hate it. But I didn't score them based on my like of that intro. I scored them based on how well they delivered that intro. Right? I don't have to like the intro for you to deliver it properly. And so I score them accordingly, right? There are a lot of different intros. My guess is, from what I understand about Chris's process, Chris is going to use an intro I don't necessarily go to. But he also has a different sales process. So I'm going to score him on how well he delivers his intro based on whatever he uses. And that's going to be the same for everybody, right? How long does it take you to get through it? What are all the things? All of that, right? That's the strength of intro. Rapport building, I look at rapport building as a couple of things, right? Rapport building isn't how much do they love you. Rapport building is how much do they trust you to get the job done. So I'll give you an example. You may be working with a red seller to where you guys have zero pleasantries in that conversation. I don't care. At the end of the conversation, if they trusted you were the person that,
I'm on
was gonna be able
camera.
to get, that you were going to be able to get, hold on, Savannah, let me mute Savannah out. No, you're good. If you are working with a red seller, they don't know anything about you and your puppies. I don't care. Because at the end of the conversation, they trusted you to move that transaction forward, then they had the rapport that was necessary there, right? At the same time, if you're going over and you're trying to be too nice and how are you doing today? And you're doing all this extra stuff, if it's responding and the people are having a great conversation and they love you, then you're going to score high in rapport. But how did that impact the rest of the areas of your conversation, right? And so then there's the other side of it where, let's say you're being overly rapport-y and it's falling flat, right? Well, then I'm going to have to knock you for you trying rapport and it falls flat. So in rapport, those are the 3 categories if I had to break it down. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. But if you have no rapport, but they trust you to get the job done, then the rapport was mostly there. Was there areas you could have used some voice inflection? There was a person who went that the person was trusted. It was actually Mott's. I don't think Mott's scored a 2. He scored across the middle because he had no rapport, no empathy. He missed opportunities, but he also moved the conversation forward, right? I will actually score him higher in rapport than somebody who's asking all these fantastic rapport questions, but the seller's like, I don't want to talk to you, right? Like, get to the point. And so that's kind of how I'm looking at rapport. Does that make sense, Brandon? I'm sure it makes sense to you, but I guess in general.
Yeah.
Okay. Fact finding and uncovering motivation. The way I've been doing this, Brandon, is when Savannah sends over the motivations, I'm just doing the math. If there's all of the ones that are, let's say there's 5 situations, how many did you uncover? You got 3 out of 5? Okay, cool. Well, Jeff got like 3 or 4 out of 5. But the ones he missed were irrelevant to the success of the conversation. Completely irrelevant. Everything else he got was so good that it didn't really matter. So I gave him a 5 in that category because what he missed wasn't necessarily a deal breaker. It didn't impact the score of the situation. Whereas if you got something, I think it was somebody yesterday that went, where on Monday that went, and they got like, there was 6 motivations, they got like 4.5, and so I gave them a 4, right? Or 4.25. So I'm just gauging it based on not only how many did you get based on what was in there, but also how well did you overcompensate for what you missed. And if you didn't do either one of those things,
situation
you're
is
getting
not
knocked.
necessarily the motivation.
That's it. And so that's where I'm gauging it. It's a little nuanced, right? Because Brandon, you get it, right? You can knock out all of the things that are on the list, but still miss a major motivation, and I'm not going to give you a 5, right? But if you hit everything on the list and there was really nothing else that was necessary for that stage in the conversation, then we're going forward, right? Presentation of solutions. Here's how I'm grading this. We had this conversation on Monday. Somebody here got graded really low by somebody else. I gave them a 4. Why? Because they didn't present a solution in their call. But what they do? They said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to get all the information I need to be able to underwrite this deal. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to do a follow-up. For me, in calls, sometimes that's the right answer. Sometimes I know that the best thing for me to do is to tee you up for conversation number 2. It's the best thing I can do because I know that anything else I try to do in that conversation is going to mess up the conversation. It's going to make it worse, right? So again, it's a case-by-case situation because if you had opportunity that you missed, well, then you're getting dinged on those presentation of solutions because you could have suggested something. But if you didn't really suggest much, but you read that the right situation was scheduled to follow up, then I'm grading you accordingly. So I gave that guy a 4. He didn't present a solution, but he teed everything up to put himself in the position to do so in a second conversations, right? So that's how I do this. If you don't have any objections, I'm not going to knock you because maybe you did such a great job in the objections that you didn't have any, right? And you did so I'm not going to say, well, you didn't get objections, I'm going to give you a 0. I'm going to say you didn't get objections because you did good in this other department, so maybe I'll score you high. So it's all case by case. You've been doing this, you understand these nuances, which is why you've been a coach here and why you're a judge here. So that's kind of where my thoughts are with all of this. You know what I mean?
So overcoming objections, if there aren't any objections, I would give them like a 5 because they did so well.
Well, that assumes, right? If in the conversation they didn't get objections because they didn't get that far, well, then that's different than they didn't get objections because they just did such a great job with all of the other categories, right? And so maybe I'm giving them a 4, maybe I'm giving them a 2. It just all depends. If they get hit with an objection and they drop the ball, well, then that's obvious, right? So that's kind of how I'm grading it.
And there's a difference between overcoming an objection and blocking an objection, right? Like if, presented the right way, you can preemptively avoid objections by presenting things in certain manners that immediately kill the objection before it even comes up.
Yep. And there, guys, we've talked about it many times. Sometimes the best way to overcome an objection is just to ignore it. Right? Just move on because it was not that serious to begin with. So giving it attention is really just giving it fuel, right?
Yeah, especially if it's a smoke screen.
Yep. So it's just a matter of knowing all this stuff. But you got it, Brandon. We'll be on the same page. And here's the thing. People are going to score differently and sellers are going to be different. So I'm okay with if we have different opinions. That's just going to be the nature of the beast. So that being said, everybody good? Everybody happy? Okay. Samir, you can stop sharing. Cassandra, are you ready to go?
I believe so.
Savannah, are you ready to go?
Let's go.
Okay.
You got
all right,
this.
guys. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to put a timer. That timer is going to be set for 6 minutes. As soon as Savannah says hello, the timer starts. And Cassandra has 6 minutes to score as high as she possibly can on all of these categories. Guys, if you guys have feedback on what she should be doing in the call, save it till after the call. Please try to avoid making suggestions in the chat because it is a competition. Let's just try to keep that to yourself until afterwards. Afterwards, send all the thoughts that you can possibly have. But just try to keep it encouraging and not suggestive in the chat. That being said, Cassandra, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, this is Cassandra calling from Home Solutions. Am I speaking with Savannah?
Yes, this is she.
Excellent, Savannah. I had a note here to follow up with you about your property on 123 Main. I understand that you were looking to sell it, and I wanted to see how we should move forward with the process.
Okay.
Excellent. So before we dive in here, just curious, how long have you owned the property?
Oh gosh, probably like 20, going on 23 years now.
Oh, excellent. 23 years. Is it a family?
Yeah. So actually, when I was younger, my parents bought it for me. So I lived here for quite a while. And then I got married and we ended up purchasing another home. But I kept it, it's just, it means a lot to me because, my parents did buy it and I just have so many great memories in it. So I hate to sell it. I wish I was, able to keep it, but life does change and
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Well, congratulations on, on for one, having the house to like begin with. That's so awesome. And having the opportunity to make those memories. So, I mean, I would hate to sell it too. Like,
oh
why
girl, I know.
why can't you hold
I
on to
mean, it's heartbreaking because actually I even got married in this house in the backyard.
oh my gosh.
So I know it's just like I just
Well, listen,
I
maybe we can figure out how to help you keep it. I mean, tell
Mhm.
me, why do you have to sell it? What changed?
so I okay, so obviously I've had it for a while. I put some tenants in there and they haven't been paying. So it's kind of just put me in like, a little bit of an uncomfortable position here.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it
Girl, they
sucks.
always say, have property, it's fun. And then you find out what it's like to be a landlord, right?
I know. It just completely breaks my heart. I wish.
Have you thought about putting property management in place? Have you talked with anybody about that to remove yourself from that stress?
Okay, so to be honest with you, my husband is not a fan of the situation that's going on, and he's really pressuring me to sell the house, which
Mm.
I'm not. I mean, you can see I obviously love this house. I have so many memories there, so it's really putting me like, oh, I love my husband to death. I know he just wants the best for us in our marriage, but I mean, it just hurts me to let this go. So I don't
Right.
know. I feel really pressured from him to just sell it and move on, but it does mean a lot to me. So I don't know. I really but I know I need to do what's best for my marriage.
Right.
And we've been married for a long time. We've had our ups and downs. We've gone through a lot. I just don't want this to come in between us. We're finally in a good spot now. So I know it does make sense to sell this
Yeah.
and
You don't want to decide between the house and the hubby, right? I mean, ultimately, you're the one who is the decision maker, right? But he's just putting that pressure on you, or does he need a
right,
sign off
right.
from it too?
No, no, because my parents did buy this for me, so it's just my name, it's just my house. I mean, but it is. I mean, I guess since we're married, I mean, I wouldn't say it's not his too, because
Right.
obviously, like our the house we have now is both of ours. It's community property, so it's not like that, but it's definitely. I'm sure. Are you married?
I'm not, and maybe for other reasons other than wanting to keep all of my sentimental houses, because that could be a deal breaker. But you know what? You're such a
Oh,
sweetheart, Savannah. Here's the deal. I think that if there, I don't want your heart being broken one way or another. So I think that if you want to keep the house, we can take a look at that, and I'd be happy to sit down with you and your husband and just maybe explain some ways that make sense. Because we deal with this type of thing all the time with bad renters, and you just want to get away from it. But
so they're not bad. They're not bad people. They're actually really, 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 really good people.
but
And
they're
I
not
don't
paying,
know the
right? But
right.
they're
And I
not
don't know
paying.
their whole situation. So I hate to be
Sure.
like, and I could never in a million years imagine taking these people to court. Like that's no. So it's like, I don't
You,
know what to do. What's the right? Have you gone through this before?
yes, and you are a beautiful mind. When I first started owning properties, I felt the same way. But at the end of the day, we do this because because we're trying to build something for our lives, for our future generations. And sometimes being that bleeding heart really puts us in a bad position, right? We
Mhm.
let people kind of walk all over us. And I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I've gone through hell and hellfire to help out a tenant. And they just like were totally lying, walked all over me. I lost the house. So I don't want that to
Oh
happen to you. How
no.
far, like, are you behind on payments? You don't owe anything on this property?
No, 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 no. I own it outright. So I
Okay,
mean,
good, good. What's
yeah.
it,
So
what's it costing you to keep it though? What's it costing you to keep it?
honestly, I would keep the tenants in there if I
Mhm.
could, if it was up to me, because I don't feel right doing the
Right,
eviction. And so it's
right,
more just pressure from my husband. But
right.
I mean, if okay, so hypothetically speaking, because I I know I do have to sell this. What is going to happen if you were to buy it? Like, what would happen to the tenants? Like, can you walk me through that process?
Absolutely. And I got to do it really quick here with you, and then let's set a follow-up, okay? So when we run into situations with tenants like this, they are in a bad spot, but we have so many resources to help them and get them into a position where they're living somewhere that they can afford and they don't find
Mhm.
themselves in the same place. So that's 100% our goal when we're dealing with tenants. Can we actually chat about this tomorrow at the same time, like 3 o'clock? Can I call you back and we'll run through that and get a price together?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Excellent. There's my timer.
And there it is. That is time. So much feedback here, guys. Give your thoughts in the chat.
You were
on how
yellow
the
on
call
me, weren't
went.
you, Savannah? I was
Little
like,
bit.
shit, I really gotta get you to stop.
All right. This is gonna be interesting. Brandon, do you want to go first?
Oh,
or do
wait,
you
hold
wanna-
on.
what do you-
I'm still grading. If you don't mind
Okay,
going first.
I'll go ahead and go first. Samir, go ahead and pull up the score sheet. I am very frustrated by this call.
Me
very
too.
frustrated by this call. Very, very frustrated because I think I know what Cassandra was trying to do, and it actually hurt her more than it helped her.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and have Samir pull these things up, and we'll go from there. Bros like 1 minute more. I thought about it. All of the people at the beginning on the first day had the opportunity to switch this to 7-minute role plays, and they were all super, super proud and like, "Nah, we got it 6 minutes," and they were like, "Oh, we should have said 7 minutes." So they set the trend for everybody. All right, strength of intro. Going for me. I'm DQ, Samir. There you go. Appreciate you, bro. Just wanted to, in case you weren't sure.
I'm
I
also
like 10
Cassandra
tabs
with one
open.
S, just saying.
Is it? Oh, look at that. No, I'm gonna need a little
Read
mercy
the
today.
room, Samir.
Thanks, love.
Jesus.
Appreciate you.
All right. So
I got you.
strength of intro, I'm giving her a 5. This is my first 5 in intro. I thought her intro was solid. She got to the point. She was pleasant. She was upbeat. It was well received by the seller. She got right in there. There was no extra fluff. I liked that intro. And I think that whether I liked it or not, she delivered it about as flawlessly as I've heard somebody deliver an intro. So I like that. Rapport building. I'm going 3.85. And I'm going to tell you why, right? And I'm going to tell you why in the other scores. This goes back to the exact definition of rapport that I was really talking about. Being super friendly does not equivalent rapport necessarily. If we were scoring on friendliness, you get a 5, right? There's not even a question that you were friendly, but friendly does not equal rapport, right? Fact finding and uncovering motivation. I'm giving you a 3.5. And this is why I scored you low. Cassandra, she was ready to give you her motivation like 4 times. And you kept jumping in and talking over her. And I was like, bro, just let her talk.
I felt like she was gonna go forever.
And that's tough, right? That's tough because she was a yellow seller. And it's like, how do you tailor those things? And I've talked about this before. I said this the other day. I said, sometimes when you have a yellow seller, the question you have to ask yourself is not how quickly can I cut them off? It's in the right scenario, is letting them talk for 60 seconds worth the payoff in all of the other departments when it comes to any conversation or even in this competition, right? Maybe I lose 60 seconds of control, but maybe what I gain gives me all of the other points in that area. And that was tough because there were so many times she was ready to jump in here. So what you didn't know is I'm going to read to you. Oh, wait, she put it in here, right? It's in the chat. So the motivation was the seller needs to sell an investment property. Tenants stop paying during COVID and will not allow any showings. Seller doesn't feel comfortable to evict them because they're close family friends. They own the property outright. It's causing financial distress and very uncomfortable position, right? Because you got so clear on how uncomfortable it was, I scored you a little bit more to the middle of the row. But look how much you missed.
I know.
Because you didn't let her talk. And
I know.
that's
It's like I'm like, we're already 3 minutes in, and we were talking about the wedding and the husband and all that. And that's why I felt like I had to kind of keep her moving, because like that first minute that I gave her gave me nothing.
Yeah.
But I'm not arguing with you. I agree with you. That's why I was like, oh, I got to cut her faster.
Well, and just so everybody knows, this is why I dinged her in the rapport department, because of how many times she interrupted her. she kept interrupting the feedback. And I feel like interrupting's okay to a degree. I don't have any, but I felt like this time the interrupting were kind of unnecessary because she was trying to push the conversation along. And that's why I did that. So be clear, somebody might come in here and look at this differently and be like, I don't care. She was still friendly. Savannah loved her. I'm giving her a 5 in rapport. And I would understand that score. But I have to score from my perspective in the conversation. That's
100%.
from an integrity standpoint. That's how I
100%
do it. Overcoming
Hey,
objections.
hey, Daniel. One thing too is like she kept on making a big point about the husband just really wants her to sell. Like you can almost like kind of kill the yellow by just then pivoting like, oh, okay, well, why is your husband telling you need to sell? And like, because she's just gonna generally regurgitate exactly what the husband says, and that sometimes if he's not a yellow, that could be a very truncated answer and get you right to the point.
Maybe that's also an option that's worth testing for sure. Overcoming objections, giving you a 3.5. I think you did a decent job. I think that's just the right middle of the road there. Presentation of solutions, you tried to go down there. I'm going to give you a 3 for the presentation of solutions because you tried to present something, but that really doesn't. It's like kind of under. I'll give you a 3 for the presentation of solutions. Strength to close and follow up. I'm going to give you a 4. I'm not giving you a full 5 there because it was just so rushed. You got kind of close. You made it a point to make the time for it, and so I'll give you a point for that. But it was just kind of so rushed at the back end. I may even be a little bit generous on the presentation of solutions, to be honest with you. But like this is just kind of this is just one of those things. Like you got caught with a rough situation, and it went the way it went. But interested in seeing who's going next. Brandon, Samir.
All good.
Yeah, I could go next. So I had 3.5 on intro. I didn't. I'm just not a fan of is this the person, and that's what made me score more. But I thought the delivery was good, so I was really conflicted, and that's why I asked in the beginning how are we judging. So I got a little caught up on that. I think if it was the delivery, it's a 5. But is this Savannah or is this is like a little pet peeve for me? So that's why I judged 3.5.
Yeah,
Rapport,
that's
I
why
ha-
for me, like to that point, and I'm not saying it's for you to change your score. Your score is your score, but this is why I try not to impede my personal preferences in it, right? Because if asking the question hindered the intro, then obviously then I'm scoring because the intro was hindered because of the way you did things, but it wasn't hindered at all, right? So me scoring because of a personal preference, even though it literally had 0 negative on the conversation, that's my perspective on it. But dude, keep your score your score. I understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, I guess to elaborate then, that's a good point. I think another thing that I took into consideration is just, I've been thinking like, if you just setting the tone in the intro, like, hey, this is going to be a short call. And I was looking out for something like that because it kind of sets up a better follow up and sets the tone for speed, and interruption. So I had that in mind. But rapport, I put a 4. I do believe she trusted you or she was super seller. It's hard to tell the difference because she was unloading on you. Fact finding, I put a 3 for the same reasons. I just used that understanding of, hey, what was there, and then go off the points, like what DQ was saying in the beginning. Objection overcoming. I'm at a 3.5 right in the middle because of there wasn't many, but I'm like, man, if you didn't get caught up on the yellow part, could you have gotten further? The solutions, I put a 3.5 as well, just because it was just tough. Just like where DQ was at with it, and then the follow up, it was rushed as well, so I put a 3. And that's where I was at.
Yep, thank you. And you're
So
it's so funny. I usually always set up the short call thing. When
yeah.
we were practicing, I got dinged on that it was like a call center approach. And I think that was in
Oh
my head. No, and I let that get in my head. I should have stuck with, what I know.
yeah.
It would have worked out for me better in this situation, but that's all right. That's good. Thank you.
Alexandra, that was tough on me.
No, it's all good, brother. I love you.
Alexander, I'm gonna just throw my scores in here, and then I'm gonna go through it right after.
Word.
I got a lot of these. Sheesh, y'all making me feel mean though. Okay.
It's all right. You're pulling me down to your level. It's all good, Samir.
Samir was like, I'm not gonna be down here by myself.
Honestly, Cassandra, just overall on the call, I I feel like this is not how you normally call. I've heard your convos a million times. Your flow is so much better typically. You're so much more natural. Like I think there was a part of you that really tried to make it work in the 6 minutes, which I get. But I think that kind of worked against you a little bit. On the intro, I'm in two minds about that because I do agree with Daniel to a large degree where the delivery is super important. I don't think it really did too much of a negative effect for you here. But I do think kind of what you say does make a difference. And especially in time, like for example, this is a good example. That's why I kind of agree with Brandon actually. Um, you needed every second you could have got here. And breaking up that intro into like three back and forths, right? Where you're kind of starting off and going, it's gonna hurt you a little bit. The thing is, I I'm not a fan of the call center approach in general, even just with that the general tonality, but you delivered it super well. It's super clear. You didn't really, it didn't stop you, and the fact that it didn't really stop the conversation. I can't really ding you too much, but that's kind of where I had to take off at least some for that. A rapport, I gave you 3.5. The friendliness thing is, I think, is a great point made by DQ on that. And actually, I think you had a pleasant conversation, but honestly, this reminds me of some feedback I've given to like VAs before, where they'll get off a call feeling like they had a great convo because they know like the neighbor's dog's name, but like I don't know anything about the situation of the house. Like as far as the lead goes, I still need to know more info. I think you still did a good job getting as much info as you could based on the convo. But I think, even like with a lot of the back and forth on the husband and going into the, you know, her being married and some of those things, it's funny because it's a path where you got some information, but then just listening to that convo and then seeing what she actually wanted to talk about or what the house was involving with COVID and this whole family situation, it just stopped you from getting there. It's the more pleasant conversation, but it wasn't really what was going to get you the deal. Fact finding, I mean, that I just went but tit for tat on kind of where you did that. You got a little more than half the information, so that's generally where I put you for that. Overcoming objections, similar. Nothing really came up. Maybe if you had gotten a little bit deeper into the COVID side of things, I think some objections could have come up, but I'm not going to really ding you too hard on that just because you didn't really deal with too much. Presentation solutions, maybe this is where I was harsh. I mean, to me, I think you set the stage and you tried a couple times to kind of be like, hey, here's some of the things I can do for the tenants. But it's really kind of left lacking a little bit just because, and this it's why the whole conversation is a little circular, is you didn't really have an exact idea what her issue was, right? With the COVID and having to solve getting the tenant out that's a family friend. So there's only so much you could do in the presentation route. You can of solutions. You can just kind of say like, hey, these are some things we do or we could try, and because of the vibe of the conversation, you're only really able to kind of touch on it lightly.
Mhm.
Um, and then for the follow up, I gave you a 4. I think you could have just put a bow on it a little bit better, but I think it was overall pretty clean. And it was a solid conversation overall.
Word, thank you.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I almost hit her with the 2.85 on the solutions because I feel like it was just kind of like a weak toss out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was not. It wasn't.
Yeah,
Here's
y'all
the
made
thing,
me feel
guys.
mean on
For
that.
everybody going to this, and this even goes to Chris's point, right? Like Cassandra's an animal. On the last competition we did, Cassandra scored an 81. She was in first place against like 100 people, right? And so Cassandra, it's not that she doesn't know how to do this. It's not that she doesn't have the skill set. It's just that you can get locked up in these situations, and it's just like, man, I just was not expecting that. Mott's got hit with the type of seller because Savannah, you guys don't know this. Savannah's randomly selecting. She's got a picker wheel that randomly selects the motivation. So you have no clue. And so like you get hit with the wrong type of personality that's not what you're used to, and that's what happened to Mott's. And he was just like he got hit left and right because it was just such a mismatch of personality types. But yeah, no, definitely not a true reflection of her skills. But Cassandra, how are you feeling? Because it's still, look, all of that being said, you're still in fourth place, right? For right now. You're not out the game yet, but it definitely was not the Cassandra Johnson everybody knows. So how are you feeling?
No, I planned on having a very comfortable cushion to not get knocked out of the top 8 for sure. But we do have a lot of really great people in here, and I won't even be like, oh, I got the wrong person. I just handled it wrong. Like at the end of the day, and it always comes down to like you have your strategies in your head, but like you said, there was a couple times where you felt like I could have just let her go, and maybe I could have gotten to a different place. And in my head, I was like, if I let her go, she's going to take up the rest of my time on this. So I was like, It was so funny because when I think it was Tyler that bombed with her on a yellow cellar, right, during a practice.
Yeah.
And we put out that YouTube on how to comfortably interrupt a yellow cellar. And I was like, oh, I think this is the time. This is the time. This is the time. And trying to move it forward. But I didn't ask the right questions either after I interrupted her to move it to the next spot. So I feel like I was rightly placed.
Well, good stuff. I'm really, really glad to hear that you're as receptive to the feedback. And it's not over yet. I really do hope we do see you out there in Arizona with this thing.
Well, I'll be there regardless. I'll be
You're
at the
gonna
Golden
be there
Ticket,
regardless.
so-
Maybe we'll sneak you in. We'll have to see. But yeah, guys, this is the tough part about this thing. You never really know where the scores are going to land because you never know how you're going to perform in the situation that you're presented with. That being said, Savannah, let's pull up, and we got 2 more gentlemen left for the evening. Let's see how it goes. Will thought I was crazy for my rapport score for Cassandra. Will's face was like, bro, are you on drugs?
I love Cassandra's
Chris Steele.
self-awareness.
There you go. Chris is coming up last but not least. Will's up next. All right, Will.
First shall be last.
Interesting. Will, how are you feeling, man? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Cassandra's feedback? What are your thoughts on your position here? How are you feeling about the 6 minutes? Let us know where you're at.
I'm hungry. Cassandra, you're the shit. And these guys don't know what they're talking about.
So you would have just gave her 5s.
Too kind.
Sevens.
Damn, Will.
No, man.
We had a lot of combos.
It's like that. Just remember, bro, you going up next.
I want fluffy feedback.
Savannah,
I don't want no
She's
insult.
not grading you, by the way.
What's that, Will?
I want fluffy feedback. I want to know everything I did right. Nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong. Okay. No
Nothing wrong.
constructive
I'm
criticism.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. 1 in the chat if Will is perfect. If you're in the Zoom, you have to put a 1 in the chat because we just established this. 151s should be going into this chat immediately.
Oh, 0.75. We'll put it
Lizanne
0.75.
Yeah, she
Yo,
was
fun
not-
fact. Oh, my bad. I say fun fact about Will. Will's a beast as well. And actually before I joined
Did you want to eat little gator tails?
Damn. Before I
I had a
joined
couple of gator tails. I put it in the microwave. I thought you seen them. You ain't want 'em?
telling me not to say the story.
Yo,
Okay.
you got gator tails for everybody? You sharing?
I like
Not when
that.
you're making them in the microwave.
I don't think you should make. I've never had a gator tail, but my first
I've never
go-to
had
is not
gator.
to put them in the microwave.
How big is your microwave?
It's not the whole gator tail.
I personally don't eat gator, but I feel like you need a big microwave.
Yo, Samir did not understand the conversation.
Including a marlin.
Hey, I don't know how. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know how it was
No,
unmuted.
but look, fill us
Off the
in.
way.
Is gator tail best served in the microwave? Like, walk us through it.
No. I ordered some from Razoo's, but I left some for my son, and I asked him if he wanted it. But
Okay.
it's warmed up, so no, it's leftovers for him.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
So I just want to know, does gator tail taste like chicken?
Yeah.
It's not just like chicken. Everybody says that everything is got its unique taste, but it's more like a fried liver more to me.
Interesting.
okay.
Note that
Gator nuggets definitely taste like chicken nuggets. I don't know what the tail doing, but them gator nuggets be a hit.
All right, everybody send Samir some gator nuggets so he can try them in the microwave and he can give us his honest feedback. We'll make it like a cooking show. It'll be fun.
How does he know we're not sending him something that's not gator nuggets?
That's true. You don't know. Let me show you. Let me give you guys a little glimpse into my upbringing. When I was like 7 years old, my family tricked me into eating Rocky Mountain oysters at a restaurant. And the group of people surrounding me, staring at me, waiting until I took the first bite should have been a clue that it wasn't what they were telling me it was. But yeah, so that happened. If you guys don't know what Rocky Mountain oysters are, Google
Tell
it.
them what Rocky Mountain oysters
Nah,
are.
Google
I
it.
think some
Google
people
it.
don't know.
Google it. I can tell you it doesn't come from the ocean. That much.
Oh.
I guess Samir's unclear. It's cow testicles, Samir, is what it is.
Or goat testicles.
Is
Goat
it goat?
testicles.
Goat
It's
testicles?
goat
It's somebody's-
testicles,
It's
yeah.
somebody's testicles.
It's
Uh,
not
Your
some.
family can
All
fight,
I'm
bro.
saying is that meal was nuts. It was crazy. So,
Hey, put him.
all right, Brandon, what were you saying, bro? You were
Nah,
talking
nah,
about
we're
Will
good.
before Will goes.
The energy's gone on it.
All right,
No, I
it's
want to
it's
hear it
over?
now. I want to hear
Okay.
it. I
All
want to
right,
hear
all
it.
right.
He was gonna say
He can
something.
DM you. It's gonna be positive, obviously, because there's nothing
Damn.
negative to say.
All right.
All right, Will, you ready to go, man? Savannah, do you have your seller motivation prep? Did you sell everybody? Or send it to everybody? We're gonna wait for. Okay, there it is. So there it is. All right. So Brandon, Samir, you guys got the motivation here. All right, Will, you got 6 minutes, man. Do you remember what the criteria is? What you're gonna be scored on?
Shit. Yeah. Strength of intro, rapport.
Yeah, we'll throw it in the chat again. Savannah, can you throw that in the chat one more time, please?
And just so I'm clear, if the opportunity allows it, I can close.
Take it as far as you can, bro. If you can close this thing in 6 minutes.
And this is not like an initial call. This is a follow up, right?
Yep.
What did you want in the chat?
Criteria, the scoring criteria.
Oh. Wait, can Samir do it? Because I don't have it.
Oh, Samir, can you do that?
Sorry.
Real quick, bro?
Yeah.
I thought you had shared it before, Savannah. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Okay, so we'll get in there so we can see it.
See. Okay, there it is.
You're even getting ones in the YouTube, Will. Everybody agrees. All right, so there's the scoring criteria right there. So I'm gonna pull up the timer right now. All you got to do is say ring ring. As soon as Savannah says hello, timer starts. You got 6 minutes to handle your business.
I'm talking game with Savannah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Talking game with Savannah. That's closer energy if I ever heard it. All right, Savannah, you good to go?
Yep.
All right, Will, whenever you're ready.
Ring ring.
Hello.
Hey, Savannah.
Who's calling?
Hi, this is Will. I was just speaking with Daniel. He forwarded me your contact.
Who's Daniel?
Daniel was the person you spoke with. He was one of the home specialists on our team.
Okay. What is this about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take up too much time. I have a meeting in a few minutes, but he forwarded me your info. Looks like you guys spoke, and it was something about coming up to a solution with the house, maybe some sort of sale, maybe some sort of options of what we can be, what could be done. But I did want to call just to get some more clarity if you have a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and let me know if it's a good time to talk, because I don't want to make sure if you're busy or anything like that. You sound a little bit distant.
No, it's good. I just have a lot going on, but yeah, tell me what you got for me.
Okay. Well, for starters, I didn't say this, but Happy New Year. I should have started off with that, so my apologies. Daniel for his house, he said that you had some interest. Just call over, see if we could work out some offers or an option for an offer, whatever the case may be. But in order for me to do that on my end, I'm the guy who cuts the checks here. I got to see, what can be done, or what's the particular reason for your selling of the house.
Okay. I'm sorry, you were
What-
breaking up a little bit. So you said you cut the checks?
Think of me as the guy who cuts the checks, right?
Okay.
And I'm the guy who will decide on which projects we're going to be focusing on. So which properties we want to purchase and everything.
Okay.
But in order for me to see if this is something that'd be a fit, I just want to make sure if this is something that, based on what's going on with the house itself, like, what's the reason you may be wanting to sell, or if there's anything else going on.
Yeah, I can't afford this house, so just kind of at the end of my rope here. I think it's my only option now is we just have to sell this.
Okay. And when you say that, like, when you say you're at the end of your rope, like, what have you already done?
What have I already done?
Yeah. You said you're at the end of your rope.
I just put some of my information into these websites that say they can buy my house quickly.
Well, you're probably going to get your phone bombarded. I put my phone number on a dating site. I'm going to get bombarded with calls for dates. It's just the way that the
Hey,
game
I'm so
goes.
sorry. What did you say your name was?
My name is Will.
Will. Okay. Do you have an offer for me, or can we speed this up a little bit? I don't have a lot of time.
Well, here's what we can do. I can give you my quick offer. I can give you my better offer. The quick offer is going to be me not really having a lot of info. My better
Okay.
offer is going to be more so if I get some better information on the home, meaning you said you owe on it, you say you're at the end of your rope, so I need to know what's
Yeah.
been done at this point. So can you
Okay.
walk me through what you've done?
Yeah, like I said, I just reached out to these websites that say they can buy my house quickly. Tell me specifically what you need to know.
Well, how quick would you be looking to want to sell this house?
I mean, I don't have a lot of time here. I have an auction coming up.
Okay. What, and the auctions due what, end of the month, I'm gonna guess?
I have 28 days to figure this out.
Got it. And let's see if we can come to an offer, prevent the auction, and obviously see if we can put some capital, some money in your pocket. Is that something you'd be against?
Yeah, you'd be buying my house and it would stop the auction.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I can buy your house, but it's only going to be based on what I can do and what underwriting
Okay.
approves. So for me to help you out right now, for starters, how far behind are you on any current loan, being that it's going to auction?
I'm 3 months behind and it's going to come up on 4. I have 28 days to figure this out.
Okay. So would you be against if we figured out even something today, maybe even get into an agreement so we can at least, put a stop to the auction, get something on paper, and then get you on to the next steps as we figure it out?
Yes, but I need to check all my boxes and make sure it looks good. And then if it does, then we can move forward. I don't want to get
Got you.
swindled. I don't want to get taken advantage of. I'm a
I
smart woman. Yeah, so as long as you're very transparent with me and be honest and tell me what you're gonna do.
I'll be very transparent with you. And look, I've been through foreclosure myself. I've been out on the street with me and my mother. It's not a fun process, so I do my best to help out families so they don't have to go through that same feeling.
And Will, I don't want that to happen with me and my kids because that's what's about to happen. So I need something like quick. I need something like we need to figure this out. So tell me what you
Okay.
need to know, what you need so you can get me an offer and we can move this forward.
Here's what I'm going to need to know. I'm going to need to know first who's your lender. Second, I'm going to need to know um, the amount that you're behind. I know you said 3 months, but I'm going to need a specific amount. And then three, if you're the only person here to make a decision, then we can
I'm
see
the
about.
okay. I'm
You are?
I'm the only person, I guess. I guess now I'm the only person to make a decision. My lender is Chase Bank. My
Okay.
full balance of my mortgage is 347
Mm-hmm.
628. Okay. I'm 3 months
Okay.
behind. My payments are 1426 a month. You'll have to do the math there. And I have
Yeah.
28 days before this gets really bad.
Okay. If there's a solution where we can make sure we save your credit, you're caught up on.
That is time.
Boom.
6 minutes. All right. I have so much to say about that call. Good stuff, Will and Savannah. Brandon.
Savannah's a great actor.
Oh, no, Savannah's ridiculous. Savannah is an animal when it comes to this thing. I have so much I want to say about this call, but I don't know if I want to set the tone for this one. Brandon, how do you feel about going first this time?
I'll go first. It's only right.
Okay, I'm really interested to see Brandon's scoring here. Really, really interested to see his scoring.
So I had some feedback from the board of the competition on my judging. So I'm taking that into account, board committee. I'm coming in on intro at 4. Intro at 4, and I think it was just solid. So good job. Rapport. Bro, I was going down and up on this score. I was gonna give you like a 2. Because I felt that you didn't connect with her, like you were very dry. And she started off with saying, I have a lot going on, and you said, okay. You said, okay. And then there was a few times like that where she was like, yeah, I can't afford that. You said, oh, okay, again. And then I felt like you weren't really empathetic. So I was really low with you on just connecting with her. And but then you came out of nowhere with that story, right, with you and your mom. And I was like, shit, that's fucking good. So, but I felt like you could have gotten further. I feel like you could have gotten further if you were more empathetic. prior. So I'm coming in at a 3. And then fact finding, let me go back to the motivation. I bullet pointed it. So let's, oh, okay. So I'm giving you a 2.5 on fact finding based off of the motivation that was provided. Again, I'm going off of that point system from the beginning. There were like 5 motivation points, and you didn't really uncover more than the foreclosure or the auctions coming up. But there were things like stay-at-home mom with 6 kids, really concerned about how she's going to get the next property. Apparently, the husband was cheating. The property's in a trust. So there were just so many different things. So I have to grade you low on that. Overcoming objections. You know, I think the only objection that I heard, but I could be wrong, was, hey, I want to make sure things are on the up and up and I'm not getting scammed. So I think you handled that pretty well. So I'm going to give you 4. And then I think solutions, 3.5. Because you did say like, hey, if I'm able to take this off your hand by buying, what would that do? And then she said, well, that would get it done. And then the follow-up too, you didn't really get there. So the follow-up, actually, I'll leave it at 2.
Okay. Yeah, I'm similar with Brandon on some of these. I'm gonna be maybe a little tougher in some of them. Let's start this off by saying, like, obviously Will is a beast of this thing, and he does well in this business and has for a long time. So let's preface this, but this kind of goes back to the conversation that I had with somebody the other day. The question for me isn't how good are you with where you're at. I think a lot of times people will come into it, and I'm not saying Will does this, but I'm just saying as a human race, what happens sometimes is when we get good at something, it becomes very easy to come into a situation and say, yeah, but I'm already doing this. Why do I need to work on that? And so the question that I always use is, well, if there's 10 deals that are on the table, are you comfortable with consistently getting 3? Or would you rather get 8? If 8 was an option, it just required switching some things up. And I think there's going to be some people who say, no, I'm good with my 3. I do this in my sleep. I can get my 3 all day long. Don't have to think about it. Don't have to change nothing. I'm good with my 3. And some people say, no, I'm not good with my 3. I need my 8. And that was where really getting that self-critique starts coming into play. I'm going 2.5 on the intro. And here's why. Because it was just kind of like empty. Like you were making her work for why you were calling, right? It was like, hey, Savannah, this is Will. You talk to somebody, to Daniel? She's like, okay, who is this? Right? Like, what are you talking about, right? And so like Savannah was clearly responding as if she was not a fan of the way the conversation started off, and it set a tone with somebody in a mood. And then like later on, you kind of like backtracked and was like, I should have started the conversation by saying Happy New Year, right? And so it was just like little things that it just really didn't, it was just felt inorganic. Rapport building. I'm going 2.5 at the rapport building. Here's why. I was at a 2. That thing about your mom was the only thing that brought this conversation to life. But it happened in the last 60 seconds of the conversation, right? And like for me, like, Will, you're a good dude. You got these stories, bro. You should have been connecting with this lady the entire time. You should have been destroying these rapports. But here's my issue. You want to know what I heard in this entire conversation? And I want everybody's feedback in the chat for this, because I'm not, everybody hears things differently, right? So my opinion is not the end all be all. What I heard, Will, is that the most important thing in the conversation was you and not her. Your process was the priority and not her. And that was what I heard throughout the thing. I'm like, you keep talking about your process. You keep talking about what your underwriters do. You keep talking about you. What about her, right? Is there anybody else that got that vibe, right? So quite a few people heard that. And the whole entire time, I'm like, this is not who Will is, but this is where, and I've said this many, many times, people get married to this idea, and I teach this separately, is like, people get married to this idea of a sales process. But sales process only gets you as far as your ability to communicate that process. And a sales process will not serve you where a good conversation was supposed to. And I think that was what was missed in this situation. And I know that Will as a person had the what it took to make this a great conversation, but the process became the focus, and Savannah got lost. And that's where I got real tough there. Bro, if you would have led with that vibe, that energy about you've been in this situation and you want to help people, this call would have went so different, dude. So different. But it didn't get brought up until the end. Overcoming objections, I'm going to give you a 3.5 there. She did give you some pushback. You did push back effectively, and you progressed the conversation. You lost her in the rapport thing when she was like, hey, yo, what's your name? Bro, get to the point, right? But I think you saved it a little bit and you started progressing. So I'm going to give you a 3.5 there. Fact finding, uncovering motivation. This is tough. Here's the thing. You missed a lot on that list, but you got stuff that wasn't on the list, like the mortgage balance, right? So you were at like a 2, 2.5. I'm going to give you a flat 3 because you ended up getting more information that wasn't there. So I'm going to give you an extra point for getting stuff because that was a good pull. Notice that came right after you got genuine with her and stopped focusing on your process, right? That's when the things started going in the right direction. Presentation of solutions, I'm gonna give you a 3 there. It just because I think you started. What if I could do this? You started painting the picture a little bit too late in the conversation. You didn't get to the follow up. Did I miss it? He got zero conversation was about the follow up. Am I right on that? You didn't even get there. Okay, I got to give a 0 on the follow up, bro, because you just didn't even get there. There was not even a hint of a reflection of following up there. So I'll have to go that. Tough, man. I feel like if you would have started in reverse, conversation would have went completely differently because I know your skill set is way past this. I feel like the process got more focused than the person, and that's what hurt. All right, Samir, what you got, bro?
Okay, I'm gonna go. Alrighty, I'm gonna throw my scores in here. Savannah, question for you: were you a green seller? What kind of seller were you?
I was red.
She
You were red.
red.
Hold on, let me.
I feel like it could have been red with blue when she got.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was flat. Okay. Oh, the follow-up one is tough. I'm gonna split the difference. Okay. Intro. I'm gonna agree on the fact that it probably went on a little longer than it needed to. With the back and forth on you spoke to Daniel, you spoke to this person. It's similar to the issue you had Cassandra had going into it, where I feel like it was a little unsure. I do like that you still did try to establish, knowing that she was red, that you were limited on time. But I just feel like it was a little clunky in getting into it. I think it could have been a little bit smoother on that end. Rapport was tough. I mean, I'm gonna just kind of mimic what everyone else said here. There was a really clear turning point in your rapport with her when you mentioned something personal, and she opened up. I bounced. I actually might have even went a little bit higher on the rapport when you started to connect with her. The thing I think you really missed is when her voice started to crack. Like she sounded like she was about to cry. And if it were me, I would have just stopped and be like, what's going on here? Like I feel like that not addressing that was a big miss. I think you could have literally turned the whole convo around just pointing out her voice starting to crack. Hold Savannah, shout out to you. That's great acting. I legitimately thought you were gonna cry. So good job on that. But again, I think that came with you starting to open up. Like I think you were showing that you were vulnerable. You made a personal connection with her, and then she started to open up with you as well. Fact finding and uncovering motivation. I think if I had gone just line by line, I could have probably dinged a little bit more on the motivation. But I think that a lot of like this information that we had it was a little irrelevant. I think you got the main thing because I think if you started to make progress on the conversation either way, right? Like you guys were talking about the auction. You guys were like pushing a little bit forward on on trying to actually help her situation get cleared up. You got her mortgage balance, you got her payment, whatever it might be. Overcoming objections, same thing. I give you a 3.5. I don't think too much came up, but I think what you did give you pushback. I think you held your own super well. Presentation of solutions. You laid out the groundwork for it. You mentioned that you could stop the auction. I think you mentioned that you could wrap it up it was more painting the picture of, hey, if we could make this happen, what would this be something that's helpful for you? Would you be open to that? I don't think we got to the follow up in that case, but I think honestly, man, what made it tough was just there was just a lack of connection there with that conversation. She wasn't giving you a lot. Savannah said she was red, but there are certain red sellers, which honestly I think are easier to talk to, which give you a lot of pushback. And then it gives you the option to go back and forth with them. She gave you nothing. Like it was whatever you try to say, she just was kind of like, yeah, and just was it, which made it super tough. I think it just kind of killed the momentum. The only thing I think you could have done, bro, that was a little different, which you did eventually do, which was the right thing. You could have just tried to connect with her a little bit earlier, and I think it would have changed the combo. But I think you did a strong part a strong job wrapping up the call towards the end of it. I just think it was a little bit late in the call.
There you go. All right, Will, how you feeling, man? What are your thoughts on the feedback? What are your thoughts on the call? Give us your thoughts, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, definitely the empathetic part for sure. I'm like an engine. I got to warm up to the whole thing with emotions and everything. That's all. That's a personal thing on my end too. No, I'm good. I'm good on all the feedback. It was clear, concise. Savannah did everything she was supposed to do, and I get to go have lunch. So I'll still be here, but I'm just gonna mute out.
Perfect. Well, appreciate you, man. Looking forward to seeing how things work out. All right, Samir, we got a 50. Doesn't put him at the bottom, but it's not at the top where I'm sure he deserves to be. That being said, we're going to last but not least for the evening. We had a light list for tonight, but this is going to start getting full towards the end. Everybody procrastinated because they wanted to give themselves time to practice. We got like 6-person days coming up. But for right now, we had a 3-person night. Chris, you've heard a couple people go tonight, man. How are you feeling? Is this changing your perspective? Is this making you kind of critique on the inside, kind of how to manage this, or are you just you're gonna do what you do?
Bro, I'm always in my own head and I'm always like overly critiquing. And quite frankly, man, like for any of you guys that do like physical competition, like jiu-jitsu, like every time I go to a competition, I have to pee like a racehorse leading up to my actual match. And it's the same thing. You got that like nervous energy. You're like, I can't, yeah, I mean, not second guessing. I'm just going to do what I do, and just, I love hearing other people's processes and how they kind of go about things because, I'm a student of the game. I've been doing sales for 25 years, but I'm still like, I was listening to somebody last week or when I did it and they were like, oh, I'm brand new. I've never talked to sellers. And they said, I forget exactly what it is, but they said something that I was like, oh, I really like that, or I like the way that they said that, so it's like, I just love being in this environment and just hearing other people's processes and, just doing it. As much as I like exude the confidence, like I'm still in my head being as long as I've been doing this, I don't think you ever get out of your head.
No, well, you shouldn't, right? I mean, and that's a personal opinion thing, but I don't think you should. I'm with you as well, right? Like my first sales job, I was 16 years old. You know what I mean? And I was doing door-to-door sales, selling vacuum cleaners. I've been doing this for a long time.
Rainbows?
Rainbow was my first one, and then I sold Kirby like a couple years later. So I've done.
There
them
you
both.
go.
Yep. I've sold meat out of the back of a truck, dude. Like I've done all of the
Nice.
things. You know what I mean? So like it's one of those things where you just got to ask yourself what kind of a closer you want to be, what kind of a person you want to be. Do you want to really level up? My first time, I've said this before, it's 2004. The first time I helped train somebody in a sales call. And so, like, going through this evolution, to your point, Chris, I'm the same way. I still learn stuff from brand new people every single day because at the end of the day, this is all human communication. It's all human psychology. And if you really want to get good at that, you got to be willing to evolve as a person and not just come up with the excuses why you should stay the same way. So I 100% respect the perspective.
Yes. Well, and to that point, man, like there was a time probably 7, 8 years ago where I almost hung up sales in general because there was a big transition in my life. And like previous to that, like all I saw people as was dollar signs, like how much could I make off them? And like when you have that approach, like, yeah, it can make you a killer salesperson, but like you're empty inside, man. And it's like to make that I got saved and, long story, but like to have to like really like care about people, like it changes the way you do things, so there's a lot of things that can like affect how you do things. So
1,000%, man. I could not agree more. That being said, final call of the night for the competition. We'll probably do some wrap up, maybe do some other practices after this for the people who are in here, have been watching this whole entire thing. We've had between 130, 150 people this entire time, which just goes to show how much value you guys who are putting yourself out here are giving to the people who are kind of just new to this thing and trying to figure it out. That being said, Savannah, do you have your motivation ready?
Yo, Savannah needs to move to LA and like
Savannah's
actually
something
start
else, bro.
acting. She was I thought I was gonna see a tear. I was like, whoa, this is good.
Okay, the chat's going crazy. I did put it in the chat, so let me see. Does everybody see it?
No, everybody does not see that. We see that.
No, okay, yeah. Okay, but I just need to do my spinny wheel for
the motivation.
no, I'm doing my spinny wheel to see what kind of personality. Hold on.
I feel like there's people who wake up some days and this is just how they choose life. Like, what personality am I
Oh
going
my
to
God, that's a good idea. Okay.
She does seem a little too at home doing this. I'm gonna be honest.
That's for sure.
It is very, very default. All right, that being said, all right, Savannah, so you're good to go, right?
I'm good to go.
So she got a random personality. She's got a random motivation. Yeah, it's about as good as, and she does great. She lands all of them. That being said, Chris, you know what it is, man. I'm pulling the timer up right now. You say ring ring. As soon as she says hello, timer starts. You got 6 minutes to make magic happen.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Don't be too hard on me, Savannah.
I don't know. Someone said I'm only being hard on the men. Did you see that comment?
Interesting.
No, I didn't see that.
I was like, what?
Wow.
Chris murdered me last time. I couldn't even be, I was trying so hard to be a red seller, and he was just like, oh my God. I'm kind of scared for this one. I might not be able to stay in character.
Handle your business, Savannah.
Let's see. Let's
Savannah,
see.
play your position. Don't buckle.
All right, ready? Ring ring.
Hello.
Hello, Savannah.
This is Savannah. Yes. How can I help
Hey,
you today?
Savannah, this is Chris. You were speaking with my colleague Daniel, and he had mentioned it was something important. So I'm actually out of the office with my wife and baby at the zoo right now, so I don't have a whole lot of time to talk. But he said it was really important that I talk to you about your home.
Okay.
Yeah, he mentioned that you were considering selling.
Yeah, I need to sell this property.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so we help people that need to sell all the time. I noticed you said I need to sell and not I want to sell. Help me understand what's going on.
I'm just in a bad situation now, and the bank's wanting to take this house and take it away from me, so I just need to sell it, I guess, to prevent that from happening.
Oh, geez. Man, I'm really sorry to hear that. That must be really stressful. Um, man, how's that? Yeah, like what's the end result for this? I mean, do you have somewhere already lined up to go if that ends up going to that point?
I told Daniel I need help finding a care facility so I can go into somewhere where they can help help me every day, because it's just been a little bit tough.
I gotcha. Okay, no, I understand. Now, well, I can tell you, rest assured, we've worked with thousands of homeowners and thousands of sellers in situations just like this, foreclosure, whether it's a traditional loan or whether it's a reverse mortgage, whatever the situation is. Is this a traditional mortgage or is this a reverse mortgage that you're dealing with?
It's a regular mortgage.
Okay, got it. And I want to be as quick as possible with you to help you out. Is there an auction date already scheduled?
Yes, but I can't remember what's the auction date.
Okay. All right. Got it. Well, we can get that. I'm sure you have some documentation for that. I'll get you my email. And by the way, we're probably not going to get through all of this on this call, but I can tell you I have probably about 3 to 5 different solutions that will be able to solve this problem for you, as I've worked with many other sellers in these types of situations. Would tomorrow or Friday be a better time for us to finish the conversation and gather the rest of the information that's necessary?
You can call me tomorrow, but call me at 12 o'clock. I have
12
a
o'clock.
doctor's appointment, so 12 o'clock will work out. So
Perfect.
what is this? What's this area code you're calling me from?
Yeah, this is my cell phone. So I'm actually from Philadelphia, born
So
and raised.
you're not local. How is that gonna work that you want to purchase my home, but you're not from
Yeah.
here?
So actually I am local. It's just I kept my original area code. So yeah, I get that all the time. So but look, I have a couple more minutes. I do want to just make sure I have enough information to get my team working to help with this. Is the auction in the next couple? I know you said you're not exactly sure the date. Is it coming up like in the next week, or are we talking somewhere like closer to 30 days?
I tried to get a postponement So I think that it's going to be in 30 days now.
Okay. All right. So I just want to give you some peace of mind. We have tons of experience taking that auction date and kicking that out a minimum of 30 days. So worst case scenario, I can at least buy you another 30 days in this situation. So tell me a little bit about, how far behind on the mortgage are you?
My niece was here and she was helping me with the mortgage and all the bills, but I'm not sure when she stopped paying, but the letters in the mail that I'm getting, it says it's about $36,000 behind.
Oh man. Got it. Okay.
In addition to the mortgage, there's some, I think it's a tax lien as well, and from the HOA that was not paid.
Got it. Okay. Has there been anybody else that you've been working with to solve this problem?
No, my niece, I have not heard from my niece. She left. She took a lot of things and she left, and I don't have any family. I'm trying to figure this out on my own.
Well, you're not on your own anymore, Savannah. My team, we are fully here behind you. We're going to step in and help you through this whole process. As a matter of fact, I helped. This sounds exactly like a situation with a seller I worked with about a week ago, and it's an unfortunate situation. She had to go into a care facility, didn't have any family, and she was suffering from dementia and things of that sort. And so, it is a really tough situation. My grandmother went through that, so I can totally understand exactly what you're dealing with. Just know you've got a rock star team over here behind you, and we're going to get you through this. Again, as I mentioned, I got enough information for us to get back on the call tomorrow at noon, as you mentioned, after your doctor's appointment. I just need you to gather up all the documentation that you've received on the mortgage and have that prepared for me when I call you tomorrow. Is that okay?
I can do that. I can do that.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, look, have a great rest of your day. We're going to talk. We'll get you through this. I promise.
Okay, what's
And that is time. So much. Okay, let's get straight to the scoring. Samir, you have not gone first tonight. How do you feel about going first tonight? He doesn't want to. Samir, go first tonight on this one. And then we'll see what happens next. Very, very interesting. Guys, feel free to give your feedback in the chat on how you thought everything went. Looking forward to seeing people's thoughts. Timothy, okay, all right. Samir, where you at, bro?
Samir, you're muted, by the way.
Are you sharing your screen?
No, I'm pulling it up right now.
Samir's completely doing his own thing.
I'm sorry.
I'm not involved with this.
By the way, I'm literally dealing with a seller like just like this right now. Like we're getting ready to close tomorrow, and brother is like POA, but title's not honoring the POA, like the whole shebang, like literally almost exact same situation.
All right, Samir, go ahead. Do your thing, bro.
Shoot. Okay. I'm trying to take the feedback on the intro about personal opinion versus.
Well, I mean, dude, honestly, that's just my perspective. That's how I'm doing it. You guys go grade how you want. Like I said, you guys are the coaches. You do what you want to do as far as grading is concerned. This is a competition, right? So there's going to be judges in this live event who are not going to listen to Daniel's perspective, right? If Steve Trang was here, he doesn't give a crap about any of our opinions. So do what you got to do, bro.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? It's fine because I feel like I was generous in some other categories. So I'm gonna be harsh here. I'm gonna do. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go all the way through this. And then I think I'm gonna give 5 there. Okay. Intro is tough. I'm gonna be honest. This is a tough score for me to give because the feedback I've always given on intro, and I think most people here agree with it, is if you're not sure how to come in on an intro, you can come in high energy and you adjust. And I think that's where actually, you know what? I'm gonna put this as a 4. As I say it, I think you came in very high energy. The thing is, I think you adjusted. The thing I was dinging you on was it took a little too long for me. I mean, I think it was sometimes it takes a minute to figure out where the seller's energy is, but she was like super down there, like from hello, to be honest. Like it's probably a lot to ask for someone to adjust off hello, which is why I was having a hard time kind of bouncing between. But I think you did adjust appropriately. There was just a bit of a mismatch early in that conversation before you got the vibe. And I think
I agree. I couldn't tell whether she was like just waking up from like dead sleep or whether there was like something real going on there. And I was like,
yeah, that's what honestly, but that, you know what, this is why I do want to be consistent, because if you're not sure, which is the vibe I generally got, the high energy is the way. Just because adjusting down, I think this conversation was a good example of that. It is much easier than just like coming in like super flat and then having to trying to catch back
yeah,
up.
having to go back up. Yeah.
Vapor, this is where I could have probably been on the degenerate side. I was bouncing a little bit on this too, because I think there was parts of the conversation that felt very process focused. Like you were getting very into this is what we do, this is our company, this is kind of some of the stuff we do. But you brought me back in when you did assure her. You made it a point a handful of times in the conversation to be like, hey, like we will sort this out for you. Like you could tell there was some sort of emotional vulnerability, like she needed some hand holding. And I think you did a good job addressing it. I think you were, and this is where I dinged you the most, which is fact finding. I think you were kind of grasping a little bit because you didn't really know why she had that emotional distress. I don't think we were able to get to that point in the conversation. I don't know if Savannah already dropped the motivation, but there is something going on with her family. She needed a care facility. There's these
Yeah, she
other
brought up the care facility early, and then she talked about the niece, and I was like, and I only had like a minute left when she brought up the niece, like supposed to do it, and then she left and not helping, and so then all right, something's there, but there's not enough time to get into that.
Yeah. That one was probably where, you know, I was having a bit of a tough time, just because I know you were trying to reassure her. And often that reassurance would kind of come from knowing exactly what the situation is. Like, hey, you know, like if you're having an issue with the cats, if you're having an issue trusting someone, like, and addressing that directly, I just don't think you got there. But again, I think I could have went a little bit lower here, to be honest. It's just, to me, I think I wanted to give you the points because I think you made it a point to go back a couple of times to give her that assurance that you were gonna solve her problem. Now, I don't think you necessarily had the chance to show her that you would. I just think you, in this case, just did it verbally by just literally saying it, like, hey, we'll solve your problem. Again, that's actually why I kind of got you on the solutions also. You addressed the fact that you have dealt with the situation in the past and that you have ways to address it. It's something a lot of people, I think, have run into. I think in the whole competition, I think maybe one person has really had the chance to get into proper solutions. I think you set the stage. You know, I think you touched on the fact that solutions would come up, and I think you gave her the idea
Samir,
that solutions.
Samir,
Yes.
2 minutes, bro.
You didn't say it in the start, bro. You wanted me to go first. You get into
You
feedback.
spent 5
Nah, I'm
minutes
gonna
talking
finish.
about rapport building.
You're not about
Hurry
to
up,
let me
hurry
go
up,
first
man.
and not let me finish, bro. Next time, let me go last. You gotta pay the price. Overcoming Jefferson, I give you a 4. She pushed back on the Philadelphia thing. I think you answered, you know, as appropriately as you could have. Follow up, I gave you a 5. I thought about taking away from it because I think you cheated by addressing it super early in the convo. But maybe it's just a smart move to get the follow up out the way like 2 minutes into it. But yeah, man, I think overall a solid call. Other than the disconnect a little bit on the energy and maybe a little more fact finding, I think it was a very solid call.
I can appreciate that, man. I appreciate the feedback, dude. That's all really good stuff. Things that I'm definitely working on.
Well, Chris, I hope you have that energy after my feedback, bro. Here's the thing. I almost said this beforehand, but I didn't, because I didn't want you to switch up because of that. But what almost came out of my mouth was when I gave the example of Will being more process focused than person focused, my concern was you were going to be the same thing. Because when I listen to you and Will, I hear people that go and say, who's got a good process? Let me get my process. Let me do this, that, and the next thing. It's this process. Nobody cares about the process. The process is there not to be your salesperson. It's to support you in the sales conversation. Now, this is Daniel's opinion. Until you have a big enough call center where you need the process to babysit where your sales trainers can't, or until you become good enough to where you no longer need the process, right? But when people as an individual get stuck in a process, all I hear is, how do you not hear all the opportunities that you're missing, right? So we'll start at the intro, right? Samir was crazy. I'm going 2.85 at the intro, right? And here's why. Bro, she was down here and you were up here, right? Like you guys could not have been worlds farther apart on the intro, but you stayed there for like a good 45 seconds. It took you a while to bring it back. So had you come in and then immediately, because I think everybody heard her voice was way down here. At first, maybe second conversation, if you're using the she was sleeping thing, like you bring it back in, cool. But it took you way longer, like for you to get on the same page with her. And even though I don't think you ever really were, I think she was here and you were here, right? And I don't think that you need to be on the same page with somebody. I think there's a difference between mirroring and contrasting. It's a different conversation. But normally, if you're not on the same wavelength as them because they're solo, you don't want to get down there. You want to do something to bridge that gap, which is where you sound like you're having a rough. Is everything okay, right? Something like that could do a good job to bridge that gap, and so you keep your energy as a place where she can pull up to. But there's got to be a point of contact, and I saw no contact there. All I saw was gap, right? And that's why I gave that on that intro, because it just never brought back into the gap. Which is why in the rapport building, I don't see Samir's rapport building. I don't see it at all, right? For me, what I heard was process, person last. Now, you got to the person in the last 2.5 minutes. Maybe 3 minutes. Whereas Will didn't get to the person until the last, 60 seconds. So I think you did a better job of bringing her into the conversation. But instead of meeting her where she was, you keep trying to bring her up to you. And I think there is a place where that's the right call. I personally don't think this was that place. I think there was a lot of value to just lowering the tonality and just saying, Savannah, it sounds like you're going through some stuff right now. Talk me through the situation. Like what's been going on here? And I think that simple gesture, the change in voice inflection to let her know you're speaking from an empathetic tone to kind of is rather than, hey, Savannah, what's going on? I got a call. I'm at the zoo with my kids. And it's just like, okay, that's good information, but it just doesn't match the situation, right? So that's where I went. So with rapport building, I'm going 3.5. Which is higher than what I gave Will. But I just felt like it was an afterthought. Again, it was just an afterthought. And I don't know that you did enough. Had you done enough in your process to kind of bridge the gap, I felt like maybe, but I don't know that she got off the phone with a confident belief of, ooh, I have something that I'm looking forward to in the next call, right? I felt like she was equally as lost. Now I'm going to get to fact-finding, uncovering motivation, right? You didn't uncover any of that motivation. So I'm giving you a 3 on that. Because you left a lot on the table, right? Overcoming objections, I'm giving you a 4 there for overcoming objections. Because you didn't necessarily have to overcome objections, but you did a fantastic job of painting a picture going forward. So I'm going 3.85 on the presentation of solutions, right? I'm bordering going a 4. The reason I'm not giving you a 4 is because you gave her a generalized suggestion that was just sounded like it was more part of a script than it was like an actual, I understand your circumstance, let me present something that fits your situation. I believe it's way more than a 2.5, just because you did literally say to her, dude, we can get you pushed back for 30 days. But you also don't know that you can do that, right? Like, so making that promise to a person that's an elderly person, and then you end up finding the circumstance where the bank pushes back on you and you can't do that. Now she's made all these plans in her head and she's getting emotional.
Yeah, but we can go the bankruptcy route, which we've done that multiple times, and that is an external force that the lender has absolutely no control over, and a minimum of 30 days is like guaranteed. So I know that I can handle that without a challenge whatsoever.
Yeah, well, here's my issue with that. Give him a 5 for the follow-up, because this guy followed up at 3 minutes. And then literally, like, that follow-up
Hey,
was
Savannah,
fantastic.
you have time tomorrow?
Hi, Savannah. My name's Chris. What are you doing tomorrow? Anyways. But here's what I'll say, bro. Like, for me, dude, this is where I say that the process, and I teach about this a lot externally from here. The definition of a difference between a sales process and a sales conversation is an under discussed topic in the sales world. And that was where I feel like the gap was here, right? To your point about the bankruptcy, dude, like, tactically as a process, that's the right answer. But for me, that demonstrates the fact that was where your head went. before even knowing whether or not that would destroy this old lady shows how much emphasis you put on the process, right? Because these are the conversations, and I know this is not your heart, but I promise you, and you've heard these conversations, I've gotten these conversations. This is where you get a conversation from an old lady who says, I thought I was doing good, and I talked with this guy that sounded really, really nice at the beginning, and then all he was trying to do was trick me into going into foreclosure so he could get my house, or go into bankruptcy so he can get my house. He just wanted me to file bankruptcy so he could get my house. That's what these people hear. And that is not what your intention was. But that's why, for me, I really want to know a whole lot about their, personally, this is just Daniel. I want to know a whole lot about their situation and a whole lot about what they're going on before bankruptcy comes out my mouth, right? And then,
for sure, for
you know what I
sure.
mean?
But to clarify, did I ever say bankruptcy on the call?
No,
If I
but
did,
you
then
no,
okay.
but you made her a promise only under the assumption that bankruptcy was the go-to option. She heard the promise, right? And the promise was associated with bankruptcy. Without bankruptcy, that promise was an empty promise. You see what
Okay.
I'm saying?
Fair,
And
yeah,
which
fair
creates
enough.
huge
Fair enough.
credibility issues in the future.
I can appreciate that. Yeah. No, I agree. I see where you're coming from.
And this is where, like, this is where sounding good and hitting all of the targets are not the same thing. Because if you're just listening, Chris sounds fantastic. But I don't think deals are lost in how good someone sounds. I think deals are lost on how many details are overlooked and a person feeling like, yeah, that sounded good, but I wasn't heard. Well, when you have to give a name, if you had to give a term to, they sounded really good, but I didn't feel genuine, well, what's the term that we use for that? Salesy, sleazy, inauthentic, right? And I know as a person, you're not that person and you don't want to be associated with those things. But when you have a great pitch without the human connection, that's what the novice hears, right? That's what the average human being hears. It's our job to bridge that gap and make that feel different than the way it sounds, right? It needs to feel as good as it sounds. 2 minutes, DQ. Shutting up. Follow my own rules. You give closers a mic, and this is what happens. Brandon, do you think, bro?
I appreciate you keeping that energy, Brandon. I don't want to look petty.
I deserve that. I deserve that. I
don't wanna
deserve
look petty, but I appreciate it.
I got you. I got you. I'll be really quick because I think they cover most of it. But I agreed on the intro with the high, so I gave you a 3. Rapport, I was at 3.5. Essentially just the same reason. And I think you brought up a lot of credibility on your own. I try to weigh out my feeling on this, on reassuring her with the credibility you're providing. And are you doing a little too much on it? Because the first mention was like, we've done thousands of deals. And then I heard it a second time, and then I heard it a third time. And I was like, okay, I see where you're going with it, but yeah. So I did 3.5 on rapport. Fact finding, I did 3 because I just thought there was more to dive deep. And it's hard, Chris, because I heard you on the time being there. So, it's so tough on our end, I think, to judge it because it's that time factor. And I understand where you're coming from, but I just thought there was more information to dive into. Overcoming objections. I did like the Philly objection handler. 4, you answered and just kept pushing. So yeah, overcoming objections, I put a 4. Solutions, I did 3.5. I was conflicted between 3.5 and a 4. I did like you bringing up, you could push back, 30 days. It doesn't, like you said, I heard DQ on like the promise, and I was like, damn, did Chris promise? Because if you did, then I would judge you lower, but it doesn't have to be bankruptcy. It could be a dummy contract. It could be a loan mod stall. So I do think that what you were saying wouldn't gas her, but it all depends on the bank and the servicer. So I was really, you know what, I'm going to do a 3.75 on the solutions. And then the follow-up, I'll put a 5. Nobody can knock you on that. So that's where I'm at.
No one can knock him on it. And to that point, here's a philosophy I have, and this is just a DQ sales training philosophy, right? People say, "Oh, white lies are a normal thing in sales." I get it. For me, that's a skill thing. It's a character thing, right? Like if I have to lie to get your attention, maybe I'm not skilled enough to say it in a better way, right? And I don't think one thing I learned working in the stock market, when you have the SEC listening to conversations, you have to get really good at presenting your words in a way that cannot construe even the fraction of an implied untruth. So I picked that stuff up really, really, really heavily because I used to have, you have SEC monitoring your calls. You want to make sure you're not getting yourself in trouble. And so what I'm going to tell you right now is we've worked with a ton of clients where we've been able to push back their foreclosure by 30 days, has the same psychological impact as we can definitely push yours back for 30 days, right? So, and it comes without the risk, it comes without the open product, the open promise, right? So why not just say it like that? It's the safer approach, and you're not making promises you can't keep.
Did he
Yeah,
say?
well, yeah.
Did he make it like a guarantee?
He was like, we can definitely push your thing back. We
Oh,
do
got
that
you.
all the time. Is more or less the phraseology
Gotcha.
of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a hard time speaking indefinites for that reason, and I think that it forces you, when you don't speak indefinites, to get really intentional with your language and the way you present information. And I just think it's a great muscle to develop if you can.
I agree. Yeah. And the way you phrased it, so the way I phrased it, it basically requires her to accept that method for that to be true. Whereas the way you phrased it was like, we've done it for these other people, and so that is the credibility, not necessarily requiring her to agree to anything. You're just using it as a third party story. So I appreciate that, man. I like that.
No, for sure. And then when they come back, oh, you said you've done this. We have, but their circumstance was this and yours is over here. This is why we need to consider this option. And now if there's nothing else but bankruptcy, well, now the situation presented the bankruptcy, not your unnecessary promise at the beginning, right? And so now you're able to default that to the third party, uncontrollable. So
Yeah. A quick question. Did I ask, I'm trying to remember if I asked, was there anybody on title? I know I was thinking it, but I don't remember if I asked it.
I don't remember.
I don't remember you asking.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Samir, where did he land? Where did he land in the score?
Oh, my fault. I thought we already saw it. He got a 67.45.
Where is that? Share the screen. Let's see where he's at compared to everybody else.
Is
He passed
there-
you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough.
All right. That was an unnecessary thing. I know how to count, bro.
My bad, man. That was unnecessary. All right, there we go. So Chris, still doing great, man. It's top 4 for the time being. I don't know with this competition if it's going to be where the numbers are going to be for the top people. It's been interesting to see how this has played out. Cassandra, last time she went, got 81, right? And then today she got a 64. So it's just interesting how this thing plays out. How are you feeling, man? What are your thoughts on the feedback? What are your thoughts on the scoring and your goal overall, Chris?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think the scoring is all really, really fair. Of course, I have my opinions and I have like things that, like I have a process. I appreciate, the nuance that you bring to the table when it comes to like the rapport and the intro and making that connection and understanding like, yeah, you don't have to completely mirror somebody, because I almost never completely mirror somebody. Like I always want to maintain like a little bit of a higher position, mainly because, I want to, evoke that confidence and that strength and that I can perform and I can get them across the finish line and I can solve their problem. So I kind of tactically come from that approach, but I do agree with you that like there could be more connection, and I definitely should have picked up on that a lot quicker. It definitely is different than being on a normal call, because you can just, in a normal call, you can just like breathe a bit, and you can sit on the pauses a bit, and you can like really like let them, pour out, and, a lot of times when she started talking about the niece, normally I would be like, oh man, that sounds really, really tough. Like, tell me more about that, and then immediately like it comes pouring out, like all the details and everything. But I'm like looking at my clock, I'm like, do I run that risk?
Yeah.
I'm like, because I know I didn't even get to like presentation of solutions quite yet. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah, I love that, man. And it's so true. And maybe at some point I'll do one of these time just for fun, right? To do it, because it doesn't really matter how good you are. If you're hit with the wrong situation and you're not prepared for it, or whatever the case may be, the timer can hurt you. This is why preparing and practicing for all these different variables really, really does make a difference. Who wants to destroy it? It'd have to be you, Savannah. Aaron said, do it now.
How did you feel, Savannah? Like being the seller that I'm curious, like, because it's different for the person that's actually being the seller.
it's hard for me to like I have to go back and listen to the call because when I'm in my seller mode, it's hard for me to like dissect what the other person's doing. So I will say that. But I think he caught on that I was being green. I was attempting to be green. Hopefully I
Did you
did a
put
good
your
job.
actual motivation in the chat?
Yes. Is
Put
it
the
still
real
there?
motivation in there. I don't know. It's way up there. Put it in there again, just
Okay.
so people can see what the actual situation was, so you can see what you were left on the table, Chris.
Yeah, but there was a lot in there. Some of it's maybe not as relevant, you know,
Yeah,
but
you don't
Like
yeah.
the hoarder 24 cats is really.
yeah, like that's not
Yeah.
really like I was just trying to like paint a that, you know, picture of who I am.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and like, so like, yeah, a lot of and I think this is also too, like, where a lot of people get caught up, the difference between like a reason and a motivation, a reason and excuse, right? Like, and like, okay, estranged brothers, daughters, elder abuse, embezzlement, opening fraudulent loans, credit cards, like, those things alone may not have any impact on the home, but it's the mortgage and the foreclosure situation, and then the hoarder, that's going to come out, the cats, the care facility came out like right out of the gate. No money, extreme debt. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, there were some things that were left on the table for sure. I didn't get the sense that, well, I mean, I guess I could see the not trusting people, but I didn't really like get that sense because she like committed early to the follow up, which is a sign of trust, in my opinion.
But I tried to, and you do really well at this because you did it with the red seller too when I was trying to be red and you like stopped me in my tracks because I was trying to get into it. I was like, what's this phone number? Why are you calling me from out of state? And I was about to ask you another question, but you like nipped it in the bud. So that's what I meant where I think you caught on I was a green. And so you were like going through like the technical stuff and maybe, I don't know. That was my only feedback.
Aaron says,
no, I appreciate you.
Do it now. You want to do one now? Y'all want to do a practice one? Y'all can
Oh my
score me?
God, am I ready? Should I spin the
Let's
wheel?
do it. Spin the
Someone
wheel.
give me a crazy motivation.
And I'm doing it now because I feel like absolute dog trash, right? Challenge yourself when you're at your weakness, not at your strongest. I'm going to use the little boys' room while you figure that stuff out. Samir, say something witty.
Oh.
Was that an insult or I can't tell?
No, but that's all I'm good for. What's up, guys?
Let's see how long he's
Right.
gone for because he really like.
Wait, so Savannah, are you gonna pick something off the wheel, or are we coming up with stuff?
I would love if you guys gave me a crazy.
If someone's got a crazy solution,
I don't know
put
if
it in
he
the
can
chat.
hear us.
No, that's
Yeah, we don't know if he can
I
hear.
don't know. I can't. I'm gonna have to mime it to you. I'm gonna have to write it on a paper and like hold it up.
Yeah. If someone has a crazy situation they want to see Daniel do, message it, but private message it to Savannah so he does not see it in the chat either. Private message.
I might have one. Okay.
Ooh. Angie, send it to Savannah. I'm almost sure it's gonna be.
Guys, I would
wicked.
love to stay. I got to jump off. I got my team members hitting me up about some flyers to put out. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Savannah. You're an amazing, amazing actress. And I'm like, not even joking. Like, you're like total method actor. I would highly encourage you. If
That's
you
what I do.
haven't considered going into acting, I would seriously think about it.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate you, Chris. Take it easy, bro.
Peace.
Someone was
Follow me on Instagram.
Bye.
Chris closes your deal.
Someone was asking why like my list of motivations is so long, but I was just thinking of all the situations I've had, like talking to sellers. So most of them are ones I've talked to.
He's right about you being a method actor because you even dropped that nugget when you were trying to give feedback. You're like, I'm so in character. I can't even step outside myself and give feedback.
Shut up.
Yeah, that was next level right there.
No, it's kind of like when I do role play with someone and there's only two people. I'm like, how can I give you feedback? I wasn't like a third party listening in. That's what I meant. Like,
no, that's dope. You are very good at acting. You
Cassandra gave me an interesting one.
Ooh.
Hey guys, I gotta jump off as well. I host another Zoom in 3 minutes, so I'm gonna see you guys next week. Adios, guys.
Dang. Okay. I got a busy schedule.
Hey, did you all get into the last night's family night?
Michelle, could you say that one more time? Sorry, I couldn't really hear you.
I said, did you all get in last night's family night? It was crazy.
Oh, I did not actually. What did I miss?
Not crazy as in drama, but like really good information.
Give us your biggest takeaway.
Oh, it was the question that I asked, of course. When I asked, when I asked Pace, you know, if it's like if there's a property where it's the same mortgage as the rent in the area, so like no cash flow,
Okay.
like why get those under contract and bought? He stated that what you should do is call family offices and tell them not tell them. I have it on the phone because I recorded it, and so it's written down, to where you go and you offer their clients a tax Angie, you were there, right? I'm at the
I
stoplight.
got it.
I think I
I
can
got it,
pull it up.
Michelle. So
think I can
family
pull it up.
offices are becoming very popular, and it's what the super wealthy people do. They use these family offices to handle their finances, right? So they have all these different people handling different aspects in their finances. So what he's saying is these non-cash flowing properties we can bring to the family offices, create a relationship with the family office for these super wealthy people who purchase homes that don't cash flow for tax write-offs, appreciation, depreciation, so on and so forth. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
That is a DQ. You're muted. That is a 10 out of 10 tip, though. It's actually really smart. I haven't thought about that.
Go watch the replay. Okay, all of the potential judges left. Should we even do this thing, or should we do it a different night?
They've heard you. We haven't. Let's go.
Okay, how about we just do it one time for the one time? We let the crowd pick. Just give their feedback on how you did.
Yeah, but if somebody got to vote, you still should vote.
Oh, like you want to see where you are on the list?
But we can do it a different night.
Anna.
Angie can be. Go ahead.
I just sent you a real story that
Okay, let me see.
I
happened.
say we have Cassandra, Angie, and Gary Chavez vote.
Well, Samir can still do it. Angie
Oh,
can do
Samir,
it.
yeah.
I'm okay
Yeah.
bowing out on this one. I'm actually curious to hear everyone else's feedback.
Stop it. Okay. So it's gonna be Angie. It's gonna be Samir. I feel like Savannah should do it.
Oh my gosh, I can't choose between Angie's and Cassandra's. Maybe I
Pick
can.
it.
I'm like, can I incorporate both of them?
Girl, if anybody can do it, you can.
It'd be so elaborate. Like there'd be no way Daniel could hit all the points in 6 minutes.
How long did it take you guys to? They're like, we had these
Enough of the
conversations.
points
It
to
took
move
us
it through.
3 months to uncover this information. Daniel, within 6 minutes. All right, let's run it. So, Angie, are you cool being a judge?
Be a judge.
All right, Samir, you're going to be a judge. Daniel wants to give me 7 minutes. I take it, but then it would be unfair to all of the other competitors. They're going to throw that in my face and be like, oh, well, you did it in 7 minutes, and we only got 6. All right, so who's going to be the third judge? Cassandra, you want to be a judge, or should Savannah be the judge? Who's the third judge?
Yeah.
I can't be a judge.
Savannah,
No. Please
yeah,
don't make
I'll
me
be a judge. Savannah can't be the actress and the judge. That is way
Sure
too
she can,
hard.
because she's still in character. Is that what it is?
Well, no, because it's hard to like play who you're playing and really listen on the other side. Like I feel like it takes more mental energy to pretend to be doing something else and be a good seller than it does to make the call. Yeah, it takes a lot of energy.
I don't know how to combine these. I'm gonna try. Okay.
Oh,
y'all gotta hurry
Savannah,
up.
can you throw it to me in a private chat?
My brain is checking out of this conversation quickly because I stood up and I shouldn't have
Yeah,
stood up.
I was gonna say something else. Like, we got like 5 minutes.
my brain's energy from the last 24 hours of what I've been dealing with is slowly saying, bro, you're running out.
Yes, it's perfect. I love it. Let's do it.
Is that my situation?
Yep.
Are we ready? Are we? Are we not? What is happening right now? Where is everybody? Savannah, you nervous?
I am always nervous to roleplay with Daniel. Always.
Coming for your neck.
Even when I'm the seller.
All right, y'all ready? I mean a banana.
Yeah.
Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hi, Savannah. My name is Daniel. Was given a note by somebody on my team. Sounds like you were interested in selling your property out there on Aspen Street. How's everything going?
Um, yeah, okay. Yeah, Aspen Street. Yeah, that one's for sale. You want to buy it?
That depends. How many do you have for sale?
My house, yeah. My house on Aspen.
Okay.
Come buy it.
Okay. So, Savannah, you have a house on Aspen. Do you have other houses or is this your only one?
No, this is my only house.
Perfect.
And I don't want it. Come take it.
Okay. I'm happy to do that. Tell me a little bit about the situation. Why do you want to sell?
Where should I start?
The beginning's good.
Where should I start? Yeah, the beginning when it was better than it is now. But yep, my effing wife, she was effing around, and now we're ready. I'm gonna sell this house. I'm gonna sell it and take all of the money.
Okay. You're going to sell it, take all the money. Is the house in your name? Is it also in your wife's name? What's that look like?
It's in an LLC, and I'll sign. I don't care. She's not getting a penny. She's not
Okay.
getting anything.
Is anybody else an owner in this LLC or is it just you?
Just me. She's on it, but I'll take her off right now.
Okay. Well, that's not usually how that works. Normally, if they're a part owner of a company, they have the say on whether they get off of that ownership. What makes you think you can just take them off?
She's a whore. I don't want her. I don't want her on anything.
Well, I'm sorry that that's the situation, and I can't imagine how tough what you're dealing with is. So I'm sorry you're going through this situation in the first place. Let me ask you this. Other than you being upset about your wife's actions, is there anything else going on that's pushing this sale forward?
Pushing the sale forward. Um, I'm not sure what you mean. What were we talking about? Wait, I can't hear Daniel. Did you mute?
Oh, I apologize. I got another phone call and I couldn't go in. No, no. What I was saying is, other than, let me ask you this: when is a good time to get into a phone call with you and your wife to talk about this situation?
She's probably with her lover right now, but you can try her if you want.
Okay, why don't you do this? This is my cell phone. Can you text me her number? I'd love to get on the phone with her and chat about the situation. If she's
Okay.
available now, we can call her now, but otherwise, I'm happy to call as soon as we get off this phone call.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How much do you want for the property?
How much can you give me?
That just depends on what the property's worth. Have you thought about that? Have you done any real research, or are you just kind of looking for whatever somebody offers?
When I got into it and ran my numbers, the ARV was going to be 850,000.
100%. Okay. Well, it sounds like this may not be the best time to have this conversation. It sounds like you may have been spending a little bit of time by yourself, thinking a little too hard about what you're going through, and I get that. That happens to the best of us. But what I can tell you is that if there is a way to help you with this house, we are more than qualified to do that. But in order for us to
What makes you qualified, huh? I
It's
thought my contractor was qualified to get the job done, but all he does is screw my wife.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That's definitely not something that we do here. But what I can tell you is we can buy the house if the situation is right. Let me tell you what we're going to need from you in order to get that done. One, we're going to need to make sure that everybody who owns this house is a part of the conversation. From what I understand, that's you and your wife. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Second thing, number two, is we're going to have to do it when everybody's a little coherent. And it sounds like maybe you're not in the best frame of mind right now. And I understand that. You're going through something tough. When do you think is a good time to have a follow-up conversation with you where you can think about this from a fresh perspective and we can talk through all of your options?
Come over anytime, buddy. We can crack open a cold one.
Okay. Can we do it without the cold ones? When's a good time where the cold ones haven't been accessed yet?
Can't answer that.
All right. Well, that's going to be a factor. If you want to sell the house, we got to get that taken care of, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to schedule a follow-up. What time do you normally get up in the morning?
Whenever
10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. How about I call you tomorrow at lunch? Do you think lunch will be enough time to get you before the beers?
Okay. All right.
Tomorrow at lunch. I'm going to call you tomorrow at lunch. I'm going to call your ex now. We're going to get some real information on this deal. If I can help you, I'm happy to do it. And if I can't, I wish you the best of luck. Sounds like it's a tough situation, but we're just here to help where we can.
Okay. Whatever you say.
Yep. Do you have my phone number? Did it come through on the caller ID?
Yep.
All right. Save that. My name is Daniel. You got that?
Got it.
Perfect.
Dan the man.
Dan the man.
Dan the man.
All righty. Well, you have yourself a great day. Don't drink too much. Bye.
Cool. Damn, I really thought you didn't set the timer. I was like, this is going on too long. He did not set a timer.
This is what y'all give me? Like, the premise of this is a doable deal, not a drunk person who can't even formulate their sentences. But that's all right. That's all right. I'm not going to complain about the circumstance.
Y'all gave me someone who murdered 4 husbands. So you know what?
That's true. That's true.
But you know what she didn't do? She was able to formulate a full coherent sentence.
Fair.
Samir, so, like, all right, let's go to the score. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with this situation. But let's see how this
Cassandra,
goes.
wait, hold on. Let's see. Cassandra, this was your situation, right?
Well, I was like, she's a drunk who broke or smashed her leg, and she needs to sell the house to pay for her amputation. And they're like, and right now when he calls, she's a little tipsy, not super drunk. And then we combine that with Angie's piece of the contractor
I'm
doing
sorry,
the deed with her wife. It was so
don't
good.
drink. I don't know what a little tipsy or versus drunk.
There's no need to apologize.
Savannah
Obviously, DQ
definitely
picked up on
passed
it
a
right
little
away.
tipsy.
So.
She was definitely past tipsy. So I don't know how y'all score this thing. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do here. But please, I'm interested
Cassandra,
in hearing people's feedback on this.
That's why it does make it tough when you make it too crazy. Okay, I don't see the screen.
Are we giving
thing,
numbers?
but from my,
Do the numbers, bro.
Okay, Cassandra, shoot. You want me to
from
pull it
my
up?
memory.
I mean, we probably should do numbers on a closable deal, but we'll do numbers on the drunk chick.
Fair enough. I think, well, just something that could be objective enough. Your intro is like to the point, but in a way, it kind of left something to be desired. I was just like, okay, cool. That's cool.
Well, she was drunk
and then you
at the beginning, so I didn't know where to go with it.
Hey, we don't get rebuttals.
Chris gave
contestant,
rebuttals
sir.
at every point. I'll shut up. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He always does. He always does. No, what I mean
You're
is
a
this.
contestant,
Like,
bro.
you said your name and where you were from, and then that was kind of it, right? Like there was no like leading him into what you were calling for
Savannah was supposed
necessarily.
to be
So
a
that's
dude
the only.
or a lady. I could not tell. I also couldn't tell that because she was trying to do the deep bass voice thing. So I was like, I wanted to relate to him as a dude, but I'm like, what if she's not a dude, right? Like that's I don't know what to do here. Okay, so
Well,
Liz Ann's telling
given
me to
that,
shut up. I'm gonna shut up.
all she said was hello, bro, and that's what you gave her. Hey, this is Dan calling from blah blah, and then that was kind of it. So that was kind of like against a lot of what you say. Like, also tell them the reason why you're calling, so you don't open them up to being like, "Why the hell are you calling me?" kind of thing, right? That's the only reason why I ding you a point on that one.
See, so, share your screen, Samir.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I was just putting this on a note. Hold on.
No, share your screen. What are you doing?
Scoring sheet. Alrighty.
By the way, you guys digging my like? Oh, wait, never mind. We're sharing the screen now. You guys gotta be digging my walking the dogs outfit.
I like it. It's good.
I got my poop bag at the front. Things are good.
Let's go.
It's like how people in Florida probably look without a bunch of coats.
Yeah.
All right. Rapport building. All right. Listen, I know this situation was crazy, right? Because they were drunk. I think there was a small opportunity for you to maybe bro out with them a little bit. I felt like I know that they were drunk, and I feel you on that. Surprisingly, I've spoken with like a lot of drunk people, and it's like, all right, this is not the time to do it. But maybe he would have remembered the feeling if you just broed out with him just a little bit, because it was.
I didn't know it was a dude.
listen. Well, I'm just saying, like, whatever, broed out, empathize, whatever.
Hey
Like,
man, we
obviously
don't
they're
always
pissed
know.
about this.
So
You're pissed about the situation, and I think that there's just a small opportunity to get on their side so they can remember that feeling, even though you still need to be in a place of authority and be like, probably now is not the time to have this conversation. I just think it was a missed opportunity, so I would say a 4 on that as well.
okay.
Because it's just, and I hate to, it's almost tough to say this, but it was like slightly condescending,
So
and it
dig
still
in,
moved the
dig in.
conversation
Nah,
along.
yeah, nah, you grade me, Cassandra. You do you.
Yeah, it was just slightly condescending. It's like, maybe that I know people who operate better drinking than they do sober. Sober, you can have any kind of conversation with them.
That's some Alaska
Anyway,
energy right there.
yeah, that in the Midwest. Fact finding. I think like Savannah or whoever the person was, who really cares, man or woman, like she definitely let it out, and you were kind of pushing a little bit. But I think more so you spent most of the call pulling back on the fact that now wasn't a good time. So I think you did a good job of like setting up like, here's what we need to do and here's what we kind of need to figure out. But I think you could have maybe asked some more questions just so you had a better idea when that person was sober to how to move it forward. Like we got at the end there that the wife was doing the contractor.
Okay. Score.
And we didn't get to the point that she was living or that he was living in a flip. It's like he gave like hints on it, and I think we could have dug into that a little bit more. So let's go with 3 on that.
3 on fact finding, or
Yeah, 3 on fact finding.
Okay.
And motivation. Overcoming objections. I think you did a great job of overcoming the objections in the way it should have been by just ignoring them and moving on. So I'm going to just give a 5 on that because the objections were just silly. And like, screw that wife and whatever. So I think that was perfect. The presentation of solutions. This is where, okay, so couldn't really get there. I get it. They were drunk. I'm going to give it a 3 because I think that if you had spent more of the time being like a little bit on their side, then you could have gotten them to like maybe clear up a little bit and be like, all right, let's get a little bit more serious about this and see what we could do on tomorrow's call. And then the strength of close and follow up, I'm going to give it a 3.75 because like you were kind of putting it in their court and that person's drunk. Maybe they won't remember even if you set a clear time, but there wasn't any real clear time. You gave them like too much for them to kind of figure out on their own. So
Cassandra is grading me on my ability to rationalize with a drunk person. I have feedback on all of this, but I'm not going to give it until the end because I want the numbers to be
You can't help it.
uninfluenced.
Angie, go. She got the stack of papers. Let's go.
Okay. Oh yeah. So I agree with what Cassandra said about the strength of intro. So I gave you a 4. The rapport building. I think you did a great job, but the same thing Cassandra said. Maybe more questions could have been asked to kind of fill out what was really going on with the situation. So I gave you a 4. Fact finding, it's kind of hard because the person was drunk. That they pretty much gave you why, he was wanting to sell because his lady was a whore. So I gave you a 4 on that. Overcoming objections, I gave you a 5 on that. I think you did really well. You overcame all the objections. And then the presentation of solutions, a 4.
Angie, what was it for motivation, fact finding?
4.
Okay. And what was the follow up?
And follow up. Oh, I gave him a 5 on the follow up.
Thank you, Angie, because I scheduled a follow up. Oh wait.
Yes, I gave you a 5. Yes,
okay.
Yes. I had him in the wrong position.
Angie, where did you? So for solutions, you gave it a 4.
I gave it a 5, or solutions. I gave it a 4.
All right, Samir, let's hear what you got.
And I know because the person was drunk, it's hard to get everything out of a drunk person.
Yeah.
Kind of impossible. So you did really well.
Yeah, I would.
Thanks.
I'm gonna preface this by this is a great example of the issues with the competition that involves role play sometimes. There really isn't a lot you could do with this call. Like it is a hilarious situation because it's basically all objections. That's like the entirety of the conversation is a massive objection. Fun fact, I have gotten into contract with someone before who they weren't drunk at the time, but fun fact, this is I guess one of the only things you could have addressed, who got out of a contract in New York, the most impossible state to get out of a contract ever.
Because they said they were drunk.
Sued me, said that they were not of able mind to sign the contract and it wasn't worth the lawsuit. So
Yep.
for what it's
Hence
worth.
a lot of my direction, but I don't want to say anything. I want to hear Samir's.
Okay, yeah. So intro, I'm gonna give. If I, you know what? No, I'm gonna give it a. I'll give it a 4.5. I could probably just give it a 5, but you know, just room for pizzazz, I guess. I'm gonna grade DQ on a DQ scale.
I'll take it.
It's the delivery. I think you know, it's the same thing. There's different ways I could probably pick it apart to what I'm comfortable with, but I'm gonna try to keep it fair for the way I did with everyone else. Rapport building, I'll also give a 4.5. He's drunk. It's hard to get that extra level of rapport. So there's only so much you're gonna talk to this guy about. He was very into the fact that his wife was in you know,
indiscretions.
Yeah.
What was
yeah,
the,
there was
what was
a
the
little
what was the
infidelity
what was
going on.
the what was the Jada Pinkett Will Smith thing? There's a name for it. What's the word?
Oh yeah, an entanglement.
Entanglement.
Yeah, there was an entanglement going on.
He was in an entanglement.
Fact finding, I'll give that a 4. That's tough. There was so many things, by the way, here. I don't know if you got the whole situation. So he's living in a conventional loan flip. His leg is broken. The contractor thing is pretty important. 95% of the house is done. So there was just a lot of things going on there. Again, he was drunk. Heavy 5 on the objections. If that was generally the theme of the conversation, actually like real feedback on the objections, that's generally where a lot of people I think would have messed up the conversation, just because like he's super drunk, and to like try to be respectful and playful, like while also trying to push the convo forward, is just a lot of things to try to do in the conversation. To be honest, real feedback is if you're dealing with the situation, you're better off hanging up. Like there's really nothing you're gonna do with this seller here. Presentation of solutions. I don't even know what to grade here. What was his solution? He's drunk.
I just gave her a list, or him, I guess. I give the person a list of what I needed from them in order for the conversation to move forward. Told them I was going to be following up with a significant other, and then said I was going to be scheduling a follow-up. That's just what those were the options I saw.
This is tough because that is good. That is a good solution for the situation. It's not necessarily a solution for how she's going to solve the house problem, but in that scenario, in that call, that is a solution to present. I'm probably I'm gonna be rough here. I'm gonna give
Very
it
true.
That's the tough part about these calls, because there's a solution for the call, but this is where is always inconsistent grading. There is the solution for the call, and then there's a solution for the housing situation. It's hard to get to the housing situation when you have a drunk like Savannah on the phone, but it's also he did address it, so I'll give that. I mean, the follow-up was a 5. He got the follow-up, so I don't really know where else you could go with it. Yeah, that was an interesting conversation. Also, Savannah, hats off. I mean, you are genuinely very good at this. That was extremely entertaining. So good.
So I want to address the feedback, and I've been like biting my tongue this whole time because I don't want to influence the scoring. But your responses, Samir, are exactly where my thoughts were. So what's my head going into this thing? I know legally there is nothing I can do productive in this conversation that is going to lead to a productive end. 2, the person's drunk, so I am not trusting any of their information in the first place. 3, anytime I try to ask questions, the answer was, yeah, buddy, well, my wife's a whore, la, da, da, da. It's just like, so wasting time trying to fact find more is not a productive use of my time. So the best thing that I wanted to do is really just get a full scope of everything that I could get that was untarnished by the emotions, right? As well as set some upfront contracts as to what needs to get done for the deal. That's why I approached it in that direction. And yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation, right? Like, obviously, in the competition, we're not going to do stuff like this because you just can't close that deal. You cannot actually make a conversation go forward with it.
Absolutely not.
Cassandra disagrees because apparently she really has high expectations for the ability to reason with a drunk person, and I respect that because if her experience says otherwise.
No, listen, I was just trying to be like objective in that it's like, all right, these are the things, you know, I was just trying to think back to the other ways that things are like, yeah, this is really tough in this situation, but you could have did this, this, and this. So I scored you really pretty high. The only reason why I gave you a 3.75 on the follow-up is because you spent like almost a minute giving them the option of like when or
I
whatever.
just wanted
You
to
took
know
over
when
100%.
she wasn't going to be drunk. That's it.
Right.
I would have
No,
scheduled a
heard,
time, but I'm like, okay, when are you not drunk? And I don't want to say, hey, bro, when are you not drunk? So I'm like, what
Right.
time do you get up in the morning? Because
When you put down the
idealistically,
bottle.
if you wake up at 10, you probably haven't drunk yet, right? So I'm trying to get that 30-minute window after wake up. That's what I was going for.
Right. And you got there, but
Got
at first
that,
you're just
yeah.
like, so when can we do this? It was like your
I do
first
think it's a
question,
fair
but I
snapshot
agree.
of how the judging goes, because there is sometimes a large discrepancy in how people see a
Right.
single call.
100%. But you know, it's kind of the same too. Like, let's say she wasn't drunk. Let's just say she was like maybe stroked out or is an insomniac. It's kind of like the same, you know, like when Eddie had such a hard time with my insomnia, we didn't even uncover that part. But often they sound drunk, right? So it's kind of like, how would you be scored in that situation? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's where, like, this is where I think the legalities of these circumstances is just you're not going to encounter those, and if you do, you're not going to work those deals, at least not without a third party present, because you're just setting yourself up for failure. Like my intro, I agree with you guys on the intro. If you guys notice, I switched really, really quickly, and the reason I left my intro kind of flat is because I was waiting. That was intentional. Because I was waiting to feel out where they were going because I heard something in her voice. And I'm like, let me not lead this too much. Let me back up a little bit and see where this person takes me. But all in all, this was fun, right? I guess all things considered, this is not a horrible score considering the circumstances.
Yeah, that's actually a freaking rocky score for the circumstance.
Come here.
Good stuff. Well, we can save me there as the drunk rundown. That being said, guys, we have a lot of us. You guys hang out for a little bit longer. We're here about 30 minutes over what we normally hang out for. In the chat, if you guys want to unmute real quickly, did you guys have some fun tonight? Did you learn something? What's your guys' takeaway? I'd love to hear anybody's feedback on what they thought about this evening.
I just love that I had the opportunity to do a funny seller because I've been trying to be like our practice rounds. We were doing funny stuff, but I feel like real competition, it has to be like real serious. So that was fun. I don't think anyone could have handled that drunk person better than you. So that was fun to
Appreciate
do.
it. I need you to know I am still stinging that I'm not in first place. I don't care what the circumstance was. I needed to be in first place after my go, and I'm not, and I feel a certain kind of way, and I blame Cassandra's follow-up score. But
you can.
Because that follow-up score would have definitely put me in first place.
Sorry, brother. Sorry.
I gave you a 3 for scheduling a follow.
Yeah, right? You got a whole follow-up schedule, and you get a 3.
A 3.
We need to have a prerequisite for attendees. I believe with Savannah's acting skills, we all should bring popcorn.
I agree. That's fair. If you guys are going to be here, you guys got to come with the popcorn. Oliver, what are your thoughts, man?
Number one, Savannah, like there's a business here. Like, why don't you just like hire yourself out to people that are sick of telemarketers? No telemarketer will ever call back to you. You'll save so many people from changing their phone numbers.
That's so funny. Yeah, Angie sent me something yesterday. It was a girl that she scams scammers. It was so funny.
Dude, your YouTube channel alone would make billions.
Love that idea.
And the other thing I gotta say is, Daniel, like, I love how you approach stuff. And I love that you teach us that like everybody has their own approach, they have their own personality. Because I try to take notes when you're doing a demonstration for us. And where some people I could take notes and I can write key points down, like, don't get me wrong, I could make a couple, like, you just flow with it. And I enjoy seeing that different side of how somebody has a conversation. And so that's something that like I really took away today is just like, it's hard to take notes because yes, you're getting the key points, you're getting 4 pillars, you're getting whatever you can, but it all just sort of like mixes together into a conversation. And it's why I love coming here so much. So, I mean, don't get a big head on this, but watching you really has helped me find getting into flows of conversations. Just have the conversation because they're going to tell you what they want to tell you no matter, who you are. You just have fun with it. But anyway, again, I can't even explain it. So thanks for.
When we do a sellers competition, Savannah wins.
Savannah wins for the sellers competition for sure. No, Oliver, I really, really appreciate that, man. And to be honest with you, if I had to summarize my sales style and what I teach when it comes to sales, you just did it, right? Samir's heard me say this a million times. And what I say is that there's levels of this, right? So to summarize this quickly, when you first get into sales, it's just, how do I know what to say? What do I say next? That's where, for some people, a script or a sales process or things like that come in handy because it just gives you a framework to know what to do next. And then I think what you do is you evolve from that. And then you start adding in tactics and different types of things that help you actually get good at knowing when to use a takeaway, knowing when to do a pullback. It is my opinion that a lot of the salespeople stop right there. They have a good process, they have good tactics and takeaways, and then they stop right there because they're closing, 5 out of 10 deals, and they're good with that, maybe 6. For me, I think there's an extra evolution there. And the evolution for me is when you can do all of those things and nobody knows. Because you're doing them and they're being woven into the conversation, but everybody that heard you was like, "Oh, I just thought I had a really good conversation with the person." And what happens is when people hear it on the outside, they're like, "Oh, that was just a good deal." They think it's luck. They think it was just the way the conversation went. What they don't realize is that I'm doing all the things the other people are doing. I'm planting and I'm getting prepped and I'm positioning questions 5 minutes down the road, but I'm doing it in a way that nobody can tell. And I think for me, for Daniel, when you learn the balance of sales skills versus a sales process, and you learn how to take these tactics and interweave them to understanding humans and understanding good, effective communication skills, that's where that starts to come to life.
And I want to learn more about like people. Like I want to learn, like I reread the book, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because it just shows the nature of like, number one, people love their name. They love their name. So I want to get on a call with you, Daniel. Like I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to see if I can coax you into getting me some practice.
Wait. Sorry, I have to put a shameless plug here. Earlier I saw in the chat, it was you, right? That was like, "Hey, do you have a book I can recommend?" Was that you?
Yeah.
Asking Daniel. Daniel's like a walking, talking sales book. Like we've all been training with him. So
no, reach out, Oliver, if there's anything I can do to help. Happy to, what's that?
The Book of Daniel. No, I'll
I
reach
like
out.
that. That is
it's
a book
a whole
too.
course now. It's a whole course now. The wait is over. It was secretly released.
Well, that being said, guys, like I try to provide as much free value as possible here in Sub 2, and that's what the Nightly Dial is for. This is why for the last 2 years we've spent this much time here to try to provide as much value as possible. But the reality is there's always another step you can take it. Like look at Sub 2, look at what the evolution is, and now it's going to the next level. Anything you want to do and you want to do well, if you're willing to take it seriously, there's usually a next step. And for me, that's where I push, especially in the area of communication and conversation. It's like, what's the next step? How do we evolve? So Oliver, reach out. Happy to help any way I can, man. Seriously. That being said, guys, for all of you guys, spent here, we had 100, 150 people for the entire night. We still have about 100 people. I really appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. Hopefully this was of value. Friday, we are back at it again with day 4 of round 2, pushing through all these things. We got a pretty stacked list for Friday. So guys, get here. We're going to have to start... we're going to have to start really super early. Savannah, they're asking about your headset. We're going to have to start super early, and we're going to get the ball rolling. 3 p.m. Arizona time. We'll be back here. If you are not in Sub 2 and you're fortunate enough to be watching this on YouTube, we'll be back here again. Look for the thing to go live if you turn on the notifications. That being said, guys, if you're not in Sub 2, get into Sub 2. I don't even know what you're doing with your life. Hope you guys all have an amazing week. I hope you guys do something special.